Okay, I'm going to broadcast mode now. So if okay, so let me see the okay participants. Okay, okay, make a co-host. Yeah.
Yeah, so should I try it now?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
cool. Yeah, I can share it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you
Okay.
see my screen?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, good.
Yeah. I can see it. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. That's should be good to go then.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think on a webinar, if you make people co-host, or they can actually share by themselves. Then yeah. So okay. That's Ati. She's getting ready. She'll be here in a couple of minutes. Yeah. Okay. Then let me. Oh. Okay. Oh, we've already got a few attendants. Yeah, I've got a few attendees, which is great. Yeah, it's always great when people come on time. They don't get stuck in traffic. Yeah. Okay. Let me just call the other panelists. Just make sure that they can log in. There's no problem at all with them. So I'm just gonna mute myself for now. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. No, okay. Hello. You unmuted now?
Hey Sam, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm unmuted now, but I'm sharing your screen, right, Sam? Or should I log out here?
You're fine. You're looking at me as well. So you're on. We've got quite a few people in. So we're
Yes.
going to.
Are you okay for me to be logged in as you as well?
Yeah, it's fine for now. Yeah, that's cool. Okay.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Let's.
Okay.
All right, awesome. No, I need to log out as you. Hi, Jack. How are you?
Yes,
I'm good. Yourself, Artie?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm logged in as Sam, so I'm not
I
sure
just make sure you're on the panel.
why I can
before you
see
can
his shared screen. So I'm trying to increase my volume.
Sam, if you're on the phone, do you want to mute your...
I just want to make sure that everyone is all the panelists are all logged in and tested before quarter in 5 minutes. Okay.
Turn this down. Okay, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, just getting Yasmin is gonna log in. I've got Yemi as well. He's gonna to log in very soon.
That's better.
So, so what we could do, Ati, while you're trying to get them to log in, let me just say hi to everyone that's
sure, no problem. So who's trying to log in? I've got 3 panel members here, ourselves and Jack, and let's see who's raised their hands.
We've got Ali here raising hands. We've got okay, so let me go to the beginning of the slide.
Yaz hasn't logged in yet, and let's find Yemi.
Yasmin, she's going to log in shortly. I've just spoken to her. So hi everyone, welcome to our Midas event, the Ask the Property Entrepreneur event, the event that we normally run in Mayfair just before the network auction. Of course, because of the current situation, we are having to do it by Zoom. I see before we actually officially start, just get a few hands that are raised. Ali, I'm just gonna enable you to talk so I can say hello. Hi, Ali.
There you go. I've unmuted him.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Hi, good morning, Ali. Yes, I've seen your hands been up for quite a while. Yes.
Okay.
How are you today?
I'm very well. Very well.
Okay. So how far have you traveled? Any traffic this morning?
Well, home to work in this office. There's 2 of us just manning the office, collecting information, being a delivery man in the middle, which is interesting.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, thanks, Ali. Thanks for joining us. So we look forward to some exciting questions from yourself at the end of the event. Okay, thank you, Ali.
Here, so this is one of our other panel members. Hi, Yemi. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you? I love the hat.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you're going to be wearing the hat this morning or not, but I'm so glad you did wear it.
Wow. Yeah, Ati was going to request that, but I said, leave it up to him. And you've done it. So great for Ati, yes.
You don't want to see me without the hat.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So that's good. I think there are a few hands that we have raised, and then before are the sponsors ready to take on? I think what's
Aaron is here, so he's unmuted. Sorry, Kieran, I need to find.
Yeah, so if you Kieran, if you just get them all lined up, so we can have a quick. Yeah, I think was okay.
Still waiting for Kieran to log on this morning. Actually, he's one of our sponsors.
Okay.
Shall we go to Ranjit, and you can say a quick hello?
I think Ranjit will be on.
There you go. He should be on here.
Okay. Okay, while you're trying to get Ranjit and Co on to get themselves ready, once again, I think we've got about 40 people, for just under 50 signed up now. We do have probably close to about 200 that sign up to be on this call, so we hope more people will join us as we go along. So far, just under 50. So welcome once more to our Ask a Property Entrepreneur. And really the show is what it says on the tin. So we've got a couple of property entrepreneurs lined up for your panel today. We'll get the show today is actually been called Home and Away. So we think Jack will be playing in the home team, saying what you can do now to get deals done, how best you can do some JV, assisted sales. And then we'll go Yemi, who's that? Maybe just okay.
Hi, Sam. Hello.
Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. Who's that?
Yasaman.
Oh, Yasmin. Okay, you're in.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay. Yeah. So I think we've got a panel in place. I just want to make sure everyone can log on. Then we're not left trying to get.
I'll be back 2 minutes.
Okay. So.
Morning, Sam and Artie.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Ranjit. How are you?
Ranjit is on as well.
Yes.
Great. Yes. Okay.
On your name badge, it says Sam Funga.
Oh, so my upgrade look, you see. So, yeah.
An improvement.
Yeah. So you see, this is the effect of lockdown. I look better, you know, right now. Yeah. So, wow. Okay. So, Ranjit, you're going to be on quite shortly, actually. Yeah. So,
Okay.
again, the lineup for today, we've got 9:45 right now. In the next 10 minutes, we'll have our sponsors say the bids just before we get Jack in. And then Jack would take us from 10 o'clock to 10:45 presentation. And on this occasion, Jack has something to go on to, so he might not wait for the Q&A at the end. So Jack would speak and then take questions, just in case he doesn't stay with us to the end to the Q&A section. So, and then Yemi would present to us his perspective on the current market situation from an overseas buying point of view. Yemi, whom you know from our marketing, is one of the biggest overseas acquisition agent in the UK. So he has a lot to say in that market, what happens. And then between Yemi and Jack, we just sandwiched a brilliant lawyer that would tell us all the legalities and what we need to take into consideration if we do buy either at auction or privately or go into a JV. So Yasmin's a brilliant lawyer. She can answer your legal questions on any matter concerning property, of course, or business structuring. So she would do a brief presentation, but more on the Q&A to take questions from a legal point of view. So I think without much further ado, I will get our squeeze in all our speakers to do the next 5 minutes so that Jack can start on time to be able to go off. Ranjit, are you ready to start are you ready to go on?
Yes, I'm ready, Sam.
You are ready, right? Okay, that's fine.
You want to hear me?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Are you not on the? Are you not over video?
No, you haven't.
Okay, if you having challenges with video, is it?
Okay.
No,
all right, I'll start. Yeah.
No, are you having problems with your video?
I will.
I'm not having no problem.
Oh, is it? Okay, then let me put it on just in case you're not. Okay, let me. Oh, okay, you're not on the Okay, yes. Yep. Okay, Ranjit, you switch on your video now. You can go on. Hello, Ranjit.
I've just unmuted him.
Yeah, you got your 2 minutes now, Ranjit.
Okay.
Oh yes. Wow, you're getting me thirsty now, actually.
Hang on.
Ranjit.
Yes.
Yeah, you got your 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam and Artie. Good morning, Ranjit from Property Investor News. Please listen carefully. Education is the only weapon to be successful. No matter what business you're in, property is no different. Question for you. Am I going or am I growing through life? Now ask yourself, how much have I grown since the lockdown, and be true to yourself. Time is no excuse. Prepare yourself for the changes, challenges, and opportunities ahead. Become educated, knowledgeable, and informed investor. Our publication, Property Investor News, provides analysis, news, research on property investments. Also updates on mortgages, finance, auction, legal matters, and much, much more. Subscribe to Property Investor News, receive 3 free issues, and a book, Before the Hammer Falls, written by 2 auction experts. To subscribe, just follow the instructions in the chat box. I'd like to leave you with this. 2 things. Remember, businesses don't fail. People who run them do fail. So be educated, be knowledgeable, be informed. Dig your well before you're thirsty. Look at what happened to the dinosaurs. They didn't read. They ended up going out of business and extinct. Back to you, Sam and Artie. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ranjit. Okay, do we have Kieran?
Yes, Kieran is here. But before I continue, I did a little message on the group just to make sure that everyone can hear us as well. So if you just give a slight thumbs up, if you've got any problems in hearing us, just let us know. But we've also got Kieran here as well from Market Financial Solutions, one of our sponsors. So Kieran, whenever you're ready, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Artie, and thanks, Sam. My name's Kieran. I am can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, sorry, yeah. So my name's Kieran. I'm an underwriter at MFS. We are a bridging lender. We're one of the sponsors. I just wanted to explain very sort of briefly how bridging finance can be useful, especially for auction finance. We all know that auction finance is a very sort of like in the moment type of transaction where, you know, it needs to be turned around very, very quickly. We can assist with that, and you know, with the current climate, with these unprecedented times, you know, it is a bit of a sort of uncertainty as to where and how the market is going to recover. It hasn't really sort of had a downfall, but you know, we are the type of lender where we can draw down funds very, very quickly. I had a transaction late last year where a gentleman had to complete the purchase of an auction property up in Liverpool in less than 5 days because they had a 14-day window as opposed to 28. It was a bit complicated why it got to that point, but long story short, we got from application to drawdown in 4 days. The way that it works is that you can contact me directly. You can send me a synopsis of the deal, what you need, what you require. Our LTVs and interest rates are all bespoke, so every single case is based on its merits. We lend throughout mainland England. We don't do Scotland, and we do parts of Wales. So effectively, if you need the additional funds to complete a transaction quickly, we can assist with that. And we're very, very transparent. Everything is, you know, said from the outset. We don't have any hidden costs. I explain everything thoroughly, or one of my colleagues does, and we're with you for the entire transaction. We have funds readily available, so that's one of our USPs, is that we can draw down very, very quickly. Several legal firms, so they don't get too inundated, and the great thing is you can speak to me, and I'm the person who speaks directly with the credit committee. So yeah, my email and information will be available from Artie and Sam, and if you'd like to send anything across, by all means, please do, and hope to speak to you soon.
Thanks, Kieran. Kieran, you can also leave your details on the chat as well.
Okay.
But like you mentioned, we will send everyone out your details as well. So thank you for that.
No worries. Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more sponsors, Artie?
I think that's it, really. I think that's just the sponsors done, so we can move on to Ask the Property Entrepreneur.
Yes,
So
great. I
if
think
Jack's ready,
yeah, we're now live on Facebook as well. So yes,
brilliant.
yeah. While I've just got us live on Facebook. So if anyone is on Facebook, they can share, they can like and share to the followers as well. Yeah, so we're live on
Absolutely.
Facebook on my timeline. So, okay, so without much further ado, we're 5 minutes to 10, just on time. Yes, we are really on time. How many? We have about just about 60 people now on online, and I think we're getting more coming in as well. So normally there's a presentation that I do about Midas, but I've decided to do this later just before Q&A, just so that we can accommodate Jack, so Jack can do what he has to do and then not be rushed if he has to go to his other event. So Jack, I believe you are able to share your screen, right?
Yes, I
Yeah,
believe
okay.
so. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a slide here that I was going to use to introduce you, but I just thought maybe I'll let you. I know you're a very, you know, you're a great guy. I love the way you did the commercial summit that day. I can't forget what you did at the end, where you, after we had fantastic speakers all day, Brendan Quinn's event, which I love Brendan's event, by the way. He's a great guy. And at the end of a whole day event with so many speakers, Jack was moderating and he summarized everything. And I kept watching to see if he had a teleprompt on or something. I couldn't believe that you did it all from memory. And I thought that we need to get him on one of our panels to do us justice. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I think you do it fantastically well. I don't, like they say, John Lewis, I don't like to knowingly undersell. So I'll let you do your pitching
Awesome.
and say who and what you do before you deliver our value. So thank you, Jack. I'm going to hand over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sam, and very kind words. It wasn't actually my good memory. It was more just the passion that I had for the day, really. It was an extremely enjoyable day. And like you, I enjoyed Brendan's events too. But thanks very much for having me on and also being flexible and putting me on first, because I do have a group mastermind day today. So we all come together and review our own projects and what we're up to. I'll share my screen to do my overview of who I am and basically go into the presentation. So it's not my first presentation, and what I mean by that is we try and be active and speak to people in our network and do what we can to make sure that we're well informed and well engaged. And from our presentation, we are doing what I would like to call a traditional developments, where we partner with investors and we do developments. But what I like to present is maybe something that's a little bit different, because I don't like to be presenting stuff that other people, you know, you can get that information from other people. So today is more about assisted sales or creative property projects. Just on this call, you can obviously engage with me and do a Q&A, but anyone listening, if they want to reach out to me, please do. So I'll go into a bit more about our business. So EXP has been set up for just over 2 years. We're a property development business that's located in the home counties and London, as you can see on this map here. It was basically a merger of two people, and I'll come on to that, but we do land, commercial conversions, commercial property without converting them, if that makes sense, residential property, and also mixed use. Over the last 2 years, most of our success has actually been with mixed use, and we think that's subject to a lot of people being concerned about how to value something that's both residential or commercial together. So that's a bit about our business and a bit more about me. So I basically grew up on a building site. This was one of the first houses I lived in. My dad was a builder. This is my dad at the bottom of this forklift operating it. And I was grown into a world where I knew how to learn and pick up building, basically. So my dad was a builder. My grandfather, separate to my dad, owned a construction company. And I went through university, went into a sales position, and kept straying away and eventually moved full-time into property. These are the projects on the right-hand side that I was part of. They are basically flips in Oxfordshire. I was part of quite a few of those. This guy on the left was a JV partner on some of those. Predominantly, as I was early 20s, most of them were sweat equity with a profit share at the back end. So on from that, the bottom right property was the last one we finished, and it took a short while for that one to sell. During that time, I took on a project management contract in White City, West London, to basically do an office fit out for Net-a-Porter, which came to a contract of 7.5 million on 70,000 square foot in the old media centre that the BBC really relocated from. So from there, so I've been hands-on several property flips. I've obviously lived on site since I was about sort of 2-3 years old. I did want to get off the tools and start to basically manage the process more so than actually physically do it, which is when we then formed EXP, which is a partnership between myself and Ben Richards. I sit on the acquisition side, he sits on the design and delivery side, and I'll tell you a bit more about Ben shortly. Our business is currently building out £3.1 million worth of schemes. That's across 3 developments, and you'll see them later. And our pipeline is at about 13 million at the minute across 10 sites, and some of those are assisted sales, and you will see those as well. So a little bit about Ben, and I would love for Ben to maybe get a chance to present on this one day and give you his side of the industry. He runs an award-winning architectural practice called Aura Homes. He's also open if you do want to reach out to him and speak to him. So he's got more experience. He's slightly older than me in construction. He used to be technical manager at the Berkeley Group, and he's project managed projects from anywhere from 50k to a billion mixed-use schemes. So the middle scheme here is 9 Elms in just south of the river in London, in Wandsworth, which he was part of as technical manager, and obviously not to mention his architectural practice, Aura Homes, which is based out of Clapham, South London. So the merger of the business basically came about that we both realised we had skills that the other person wasn't necessarily strong at. So I worked in the finding and the structuring of the deals, and I'm a big believer that you can actually make more margin or the same margin in the finding and the structuring than you can in the design and the delivery. So once I've intentionally found a good prospect, hopefully added value by the structure, it then falls into Ben's hands, where he goes into the design, delivery to completion. So that's pretty much an overview of our business. We have additional members of the business, but they sort of slip in underneath or between where Ben and I operate and support where we head up the roles. One thing which I think is really key, Ben and I both have a full understanding of any element of the process, so that we could sort of dive in and out at any given time. Last year was an extremely busy year for us, with both of us getting married and things like that. But we could fortunately slip into each other's roles to make sure everything went well. So a bit more about why we're doing these assisted sales and why I think the market is warranting some creative purchases. So in 2019, values dropped, confidence dropped, stamp duty was still impacting the market. I sort of hold my hands up and say anyone can challenge me, but I actually think stamp duty had a bigger impact on the market than Brexit did. Stamp duty basically meant any house circa 600k is just not selling as liquid as it should be. Build costs are increasing, reduction of foreign investment, and that's one part to the stamp duty changes, but also to the pound getting weaker, and then Section 24 laws for landlords coming in. So it's basically made our lives as property landlords or developers more difficult. Then we expected it all to get a bit brighter once we had a decision on Brexit, but unfortunately it didn't. On top of what happened on the left, it got worse. Values look to drop even more. Who knows? I was speaking to a surveyor last week on a property that we've got in legals, and he basically said, we can't use comparables because we don't actually know what's going on. No properties are selling at the minute, so we can't use a comparable, which is obviously a key bit of information that we're in unprecedented times, and I don't really like using that terminology because it just means unique times, but we're in times that we haven't been in before. Confidence has definitely dropped. Everyone's paused in legals. It seems to be that everyone's sort of waiting, which is which is probably the thing to do in my eyes. Only 3 things can happen. You can lose the deal, it can go down in value, or it's still on as it was anyway. Stamp duty is still up there. I have a feeling that there may be a stamp duty change at some point, but that's to be confirmed. We need support to make sure the market's moving a bit quicker. And build costs are definitely increasing with this lockdown and a lot of supply chains stopping at some point. The build costs and build materials, more importantly, have shot through the roof. And I know that multi-finished plaster is an example of that. They're selling for about 40 to 50 pounds a bag for a 25 kg bag on eBay or Gumtree at the minute, because builders merchants aren't open. Just to give you a bit of an idea, they're normally about £6 to £7. Banks lowering their LTVs. Kieran mentioned LTVs in his terms of lending before I came on. Banks are being a bit more cautious. There's good signs of some of them coming back, but in reality it's not back to where it needs to be, and there's no competitive chase to get your deal. So I still think banks are struggling slightly to get back into the market. We're not able to really do site visits as easily and as well, and it's obviously a lot more difficult. And a lot of investors have lost confidence and sitting on their cash for now, which you can't blame them for. So when in 2019, obviously EXP being a year or so old, it was a difficult time to be property developers, and we had to make sure that we're really on our game when it comes to things that we can control. So we can't control the market, we can't control the market fluidity, but we can be the best products on the market. We can cost engineer to make sure we're building out as effectively as possible. We can make sure we cost engineer the build out. We can make sure we value engineer the layouts and make sure that we're getting as many pound square foot sales on the market, more so than lobbies and hallways and things like that. Not only that, but the creativity on the structure, which is what I specialize in our business. And I do believe, like I said, that there is margin to be made in how you structure deals. So the market dropping, you've got to make sure that we're focusing on value and creativity. And even though the market dropped in 2019 quite substantially, our projects that have quite a healthy either planning uplift or cost engineered value in there is only dented a small part. So this is why we're looking also at assisted sales. It's not our only business. We're still doing developments, but it's one avenue of income and development structure that we do. And I love it because an assisted sale is basically underwriting a development offer that you've made or a purchase offer that you've made that you might have lost in other cases. And you'll see what I mean by that. So it's quite straightforward. An assisted sale is basically, it's a development project, but you never actually end up buying it off them. You end up joint venturing. So the security of the project is formed by a contract and not a purchase. And all you do is you end up joint venturing with them. In a normal instance, you buy something, obviously you own it and you have full control over it. You have to find potentially an investor. You have to do the full process of buying it. You may have to go to planning. You've got to then deliver it and then you've got to sell it. And all the risk is on your business. If you can't agree a price, an assisted sale is a very creative way that you get a contract in place to do the project that you were hoping to do with the owner. And this can be done on land, commercial, residential, mixed use. I believe we pretty much have one of each at the minute. And you save evidently on the purchase costs. So that's legals, that's pretty much everything you incur until you own the site. SDLT, professional fees, and bank-in fees. Bank-in fees is one of the highest. Kieran will probably vouch for me for this. Any arrangement fee on finance is quite trumpy, so you save on those fees too. So if you bear with me, I'll try and give you an example so that we can more or less see how we can structure them. So no need to buy, it spreads the risk of the business. So every deal that you're doing is not a development in your own right. It's sort of a joint venture. You have a guaranteed investor. Funding may not be required, and we'll come on to that. You can give more to the vendor. So often when you're bidding on stuff, the vendor's expectations may be higher than what that property's worth, or alternatively higher what you can pay for it to do a development. So you can offer them more. There's little or no holding costs because they still own the asset. Similar profit margins, and you'll see, can be a lot quicker than a purchase. Imagine if you approached a homeowner or a landowner and said, in actual fact, I want to assist you as almost like a consultant because you don't need to make that purchase, it can be a lot quicker. And you may, if it's successful, have an investor sort of residually at the back end. So what could be the negatives of assisted sales? You'll probably get these a bit more once we've gone all the way through. Sam, just before I go through these, can you let me know if there's any questions on the chat box? Because I can't actually see that while I'm presenting. And I'm happy to answer questions as we go through or at the end. So one of the negatives is you're locked into the joint venture. So if you've got a project and you're looking for an investor or a joint venture partner, you can sort of choose. In this instance, you're sort of bound by that person who owns it. But that I don't see that as a huge downside, because you're still doing the project and the contract is key. It can take a few weeks to get into legal place where you can start the project, which isn't really a downside. It can be quicker than a purchase, but as an example for that, if you propose that you do a joint venture with someone and that they want to live in it for the next 6 months while you get planning, that obviously can take time implementations. It can be complicated depending on the project. And one of the other downsides is if you're wanting to get experience from a bank, and Kieran on this call will know this, if a bank is looking to back you at some point, they want to see experience for you being a director on an SPV. Sometimes this joint venture assisted sale doesn't allow that. Sometimes it does, and I can go into more detail about that. But if you've got a land deal that goes into an SPV, evidently you can be a director. If it's not a land deal where you can't have that flexibility, then you may not be able to get that expertise. But document it all and put it in a property CV anyway. If anyone wants to see my property CV, send me a message and I can send it over to you. Some of the speed is out of your control, but that's the same with any property project. So that's in a nutshell what, on paper, what an assisted sale is. And I'll show you why we do them. So in a good rising market, we do developments where we go out, we may buy it through an agent or direct to vendor, and we're looking to do a sturdy development. This can be residential, commercial, or land. In this current market conditions, we're focusing more so on everything that's in this red area, which in my eyes is less risk, less overheads, more sort of a profit multiplier than a profit percentage, and predominantly a lot more sort of streamlined to bring cash flow into your business, which at this moment in time is more fundamental. So, and these tend to be less impacted so much by the end GDVs and things like that. So we're looking at planning uplifts, which profit multipliers, assisted sales, which I've obviously explained partly, we'll come to more later. Option agreements, which is a contract to buy someone's property for an agreed amount at a set period of time, which also falls into planning uplifts or assisted sales. Subject planning, which is similar to options, and selling on sites. We've actually got a sale going through in June for a completion where we're just selling it on. Even though we're missing out on that end profit, we're de-risking it by just taking a cash lump sum at the beginning. So the key to our projects that we find is we find the motives behind the sale and we solve the problem. And that's like the key element that sort of straddles all of these. And enables us to secure them. So that's what we're looking at. Assisted sales could be all of these really, and you'll sort of see what I mean as we go on. So how do we, as a business, find projects? We have 3 avenues of finding deals. We use agents, both commercial and residential. That tends to be about 70% of our income in deals. Direct to vendor, it's a very time-heavy, but profit margin is a lot larger in direct to vendor but it also takes a bit more time. I hear a lot of people say that I only do off-market deals, I only do direct to vendor. I'm not actually a massive believer in just doing that. It depends on where your business is at. If your business is growing and you need smaller projects or more frequent projects for cash flow and to build reputation, I think it's key to be doing deals that come through agents, obviously if they work. And then third and finally, network, which I find people neglect and don't actually use as an avenue to find projects. So we do use our network, and this is everyone on the call, this is everyone in my mastermind group, this is everyone that I meet at events. This can be anyone that are, friends and family, cousins. You need to make sure that your network is also generating projects. And the fourth and final one that we have is we just revisit all of these. So pipeline, what have we offered on, what have we viewed, what have we done? So we revisit all of these. I can almost do a whole hour on what I do in these areas. And we are, EXP are doing webinars, and we do have a webinar coming up of how we find and structure deals. So if you want to tune into that, do let me know. But I love the detail on these and how we structure these avenues of bringing in deals. So I'm more than happy to share more on these, but not quite for today. But an assisted sale can come from any of these particular projects. So to explain how we secure an assisted sale, and moving on from what I said, the motivation of the sale, I think it's key for everyone to understand how we offer on projects. So this is a screenshot of our offer template. If anyone wants our offer template, just let me know and we can send it across to you. We've obviously taken some details off for GDPR reasons and who our planning consultant and solicitors are. But in the crux of it, this is our offer letter. With every single purchase, whether it's residential, land, commercial, anything, we always do a two-step offer. And the reason we do that is because we want to find the motives behind the seller. So we always go in for an unconditional offer, which is quicker and speedier. And that value is obviously less, because that is our value that on our spreadsheet, that it works for us to just buy it with the current ongoing risk or whatever it may be. So that value is normally quite low. So we stack that on a basis like, if we bought this, what's the worst case scenario? What's that price got to be? Second to that, if the seller's maybe more motivated about getting the right price or the money element, we go in with the subject to planning, which basically means give us some time so we can add value and de-risk this or add value, and then we can pay more. So that's how we offer. We always go in with two offers, and it's actually what I call like a two-stage offer process. So this goes to them immediately. You tend to get feedback. For example, your unconditional is too low, your subject to planning takes too long. And that's an open conversation. Rather than it being a straight no, I would much prefer that, because then you can sort of really fine tune into what they need. So the key thing is to find out what the seller wants. So once these two offers have gone through, and maybe they are not interested in something that's very quick and sort of very unconditional and speedy, and maybe the money isn't at the right level for the subject to planning, which then, if they are both no's, and like I said, one of the downsides is you don't want to be joint venturing with anyone that's just sort of crossing your path or a homeowner or whatever. So then at that opportunity, you can then go in with the assisted sale. And this is how we offer it. So we don't go ahead and propose an assisted sale from the outset. We always go unconditionally subject to planning to bring it into our ownership and our business. If that's a no-go or that they're struggling to negotiate on that essence, and it tends to be if they want more money and that they have to be patient for that, we then go in with the assisted sale. So to just dive into what EXP are doing project-wise at the minute, and then I will go into some assisted sale examples for you. So these are what I call our straight developments. So these are projects that we've bought and we own, and we're doing with either a joint venture partner that we know well, or we're doing them completely in-house with EXP. So on the left-hand side is a mixed-use development. This front part is a residential development we're doing to 7 apartments, and the rear is going to be 6 Cat A offices. We bought this for 786. We currently had a value of just over £1 million. And once it's finished, it's going to be worth about 2.1. So as you can see, it's got a GDV of 2.1. Therefore, we're quite secure in terms of what the market's playing at currently. One thing that's key to mention here is I think that we've de-risked this project quite significantly because it's part residential, part commercial. Commercial property is a very cyclical product, and residential is less cyclical because it's a necessity. So I think this divide is a pretty good way to go about a development deal. And this on the left-hand side was bought through an agent. We bought it off a company going into administration. It's been cash flowing, so we've got a 50k income since we've owned that. And we're currently going through a refinance to do the works on that. On the right-hand side is a project that I was actually at yesterday, obviously at distance to our contractor, but is a planning scheme that we got planning permission on a basement conversion to convert into 2 two-bedroom apartments. We crowdfunded this on Crowd With Us platform. It's 100% funded, and we're actually due to get these on the market in about 3 weeks. In the flats yesterday, we're going on to second fix and painting now, so it's almost there. Another development project, we bought an old disused police station, which you can see here. It's got an existing 3-bed house, which used to be the officer's house, family house, next to the police office. We managed to get planning for 3 residential homes and to extend the police office there. So we're actually selling this one on with planning in place to another developer. This is another example of, although we could have kept this and built it out, it's quite nice to get a nice cash influx into the business. So if we built it out, there's about 250 to 300k profit, but we're selling it on for a fee, and we may make, you know, I think there was about 60 to 100k that we're going to be splitting with our investor on this instance. The best thing about this project is we bought it in July, we had planning in October and accepted a price in December. So in 6 months we'd bought it, got planning and found a buyer. So that's how we've added value, and all of those that you've seen have got planning uplift, which is a key element to adding value. But as I mentioned from the outset, in current market conditions, there's value adding and then there's creativity. And I think now is where I want to share some creativity that we're doing. So this brings us on to assisted sales. So this is our most simple assisted sale example. This is a live deal that we are doing currently. It's in Basingstoke, which is Hampshire, so just south of Reading. And this is a very good example because we tried to buy this off the owner. It was on the open market, and this is a prime example of how you can approach someone with something on the open market and agree an assisted sale. So the easiest way for me to show you how an assisted sale works best on this is to show you how it would work if you were to buy it as a developer. So the property which you can see here is currently a 5-bed house. It's already got planning permission. So this is the existing elevation. So already got planning permission to convert this garage and convert this side of the property into a separate 3-bedroom house. So this is going to be 2 3-bedroom houses. It's already got planning. So when we found this, they'd already done the planning on it. The owner lives 4 hours away from this property. They have a tenant in there and it's not yielding very well. The rental for a 5-bed house is about 1,400 quid. Whereas if you had 2 3-bed houses, the yielded rate would be about 1,250 per house. So it's obviously an undervalued asset and they were trying to sell it. They wanted 420,000 for the property. Which they just weren't getting. No one was out there on the market willing to pay that money for it. And I'll explain why no one was willing to buy that. As a 5-bed house, it's not that attractive. It evidently needs the work to be the best asset it can be. So if you bought this for 420, its value after planning is 420. So the borrowing you can get from the bank is against 420. The gross development value, which means what both of the assets separately are worth, so 310,000 each. And if you took this project on, you'll have professional fees, which is purchase, which is your purchase, legals, your representation, bank fees the searches and surveys, agreeing any sort of joint venture structure, all the contractual work. Your stamp duty detail here is just over 23 grand. And your finance cost, I believe, will be about 50k. And now how I've worked that out, bought at 420, development costs at 100k. So if you blended that about 10% for all of your finance, it's about 50k, and your development costs are about 100k. So all in, you're spending 203 grand. So if you add that to the purchase price, you'll lose 3 grand by doing this project. So you can see that the only things that can change here, the sales values can't change much, the finance costs won't change much, development costs won't change, the professional fees may change slightly, but marginally. So the only thing that can change is the purchase price for this deal to work. So what we try and do is we try and renegotiate a deal to suit the vendor and us. So now let me give you an example of how this would work as an assisted sale. So we have the same 5-bed house, the same planning permission to convert it to 2 3-bed houses. There isn't a purchase price because we're not buying it. We're joint venturing with the owner. So we offer them 420,000 for their asset, and that's what they're putting into the joint venture. The gross development value is 620. So this is the exact same value. The development costs are the exact same. And if you calculate 420 locked in, the development costs of 100K, obviously we have to build a joint venture contract, but that only costs a couple of grand. The profit is 100K. So the vendor still gets their 420. The development cost is still the same, but we generate 100K profit. So as you can see, if we did a 50-50 split here, we get a 50-50K cut each. So the vendor walks away with 420 plus 50K, so 470, and EXP walk away with 50K, almost as like a consultancy fee. So that's pretty much an assisted sale inside out. If anyone wants to screenshot that now, they can. I'm more than happy for them to do so, or I can send you more details on it. But 50K may not sound like a lot, but remember, we haven't had to do any planning on this. All we're doing is project managing a contractor and selling the assets. And we're doing a lot of obviously admin behind that. So it's quite a good project to be part of. We believe this should take 5 months to build and finish. And then, you know, we could allow 4 to 5 months for it to sell, but realistically, there's not too much work in the selling. So if you look at it, about 10K a month for some project management work, it's a pretty good fee. If 50K sounds too small, here's a second project that we've got going on at the minute. And we've actually got a pipeline of deals with this organization as an assisted sale contractor. So this company are a large property estate who own large mixed use and commercial properties throughout the UK. They specialize in commercial and mixed use. They've never done a residential development before, so therefore they don't understand the planning process, the delivery, the value, what actually commercially works. So they've brought us on board as almost like a subsidiary sisters company to manage all those processes to add value to their whole portfolio. So we're obviously starting with one project and we're going through their whole project. So this is the first one we're working on. We've got planning for 5 residential units to be converted out of this jigsaw mixed use unit. As everyone's aware, retail is dying at the minute because, you know, evident costs. Businesses that are running from an e-commerce or warehouse perspective, a lot lower overheads and tend to be squeezing the profit for these retailers. So the GDV of the scheme is 1.1. They've got 3 other projects lined up for us in 2021. This company are funding everything. So they're putting in the asset and they're funding the build. So all we're technically doing is managing the process to the end and we get a profit share. So it's quite a good deal for us. It's quite a good deal for them and it works for all parties. So in reality, there's no finding, there's no purchase and there's no banks involved. So it's quite a dream position to be in, which we're really looking forward to growing with this business. They've got about, I think they've got about 300 assets that we can work on. So how that works, they put the asset in, they put the development costs in. We are giving them an interest on the development costs. We're doing the design and planning, project management and sales, and we're splitting the profit. And if you look at it, if they were to get an external team in, they may not have the cost engineering, the value uplift that we do. So it works for all parties. So you're probably thinking, why would they work with us? They're a large organization. They've got, you know, a lot of cash that they can work with. It's an underutilized asset. Jigsaw, which are the current tenants, they're probably going to serve their break before the break clause, which is when we plan to move in, because they originally rented the whole building. Eventually, it's got to the point where they're literally just renting the ground floor and about 2 meters past the actual shop floor, what they're using for storage. They just merely can't afford and they're cutting overheads. So the uppers aren't even being used. So what we're planning on doing here is we're creating a doorway in at the front so that you can access the residential units out the back, but the retail actually maintains. What that enables you to do is get a higher pound per square footage for the retail and obviously get the residential units out the back, which is arguably the best pound per square foot rate you can get on any use in property. It's not necessarily their skill set, so they don't really get it, which we get because we don't understand their business model, so we don't need to understand their business model and vice versa. We just work together to form that JV. Any JV's got to be, you know, a share of skill set. They may not have the time or the in-house resources, so they put that trust into a company that don't have any skin in the game. And 4, they're testing us out. They want to see if this actually works as a proof of concept. So thirdly to that, they've got funds. So if they're buying a big commercial asset and getting 8% on it a year, they could get the same if they're building this out and adding value to their asset. So that's a bit of an overview. We also have more than that, and we obviously don't want to go into too much detail about it because I could be on here forever and then Sam will start chasing me down in terms of time. We've got one in central London in Pimlico. It's a corner plot, 4-storey commercial. We're converting to residential, a loft mansard roof to go on to generate 4 units of 2.8 million, similar JV structure with the building owner. And that's a classic case. They could put it on the market, but we can pay more if we JV with them. So all it's doing is sort of backdating everything and reversing it and say, look, we won't buy it off you, we'll just do the joint venture with you. So how do we secure these? Once we've got an offer to them and they sort of say, no, your offer's not high enough, or no, we don't want to wait for your subject planning, and then we get an assisted sale agreed, it takes a lot of work. So we tend to do a video which explains the stack. This is Ben here doing a video for one of our joint venture partners. We do an initial meeting. We then have follow-up phone calls, another meeting in person, then Ben meets from the team. Then we do a Loom video, which is this software we use. It's completely free. It records your screen and records you talking, so you can talk someone through a step-by-step process. And it works really well because they can pause and play it as they please. There's going to be a lot of email exchange. You may have Zoom calls with the independent people that are involved in the project. You may have to revise the scheme based on problems that may arise and exit plans that may arise. They then have a bit of a think, and then it may be more phone calls, and then you get it into legals. So it's not as simple as just price works, we'll buy it, but it's always worthwhile because it seems to be a good project together. The most important things to find out when you're offering, find out what their situation is and what their needs are. Find out what you need to be doing to work with them and understand their problems. Once you solve their solutions, it's a win-win for everyone. As a development business or a property landlord or a property owner or a property buyer, your end goal is to buy, build or own an asset. If you can do that and accommodate all of their issues, that is more likely then to create a successful joint venture. So the easiest way to get these things structured is if you verbally get it in principle. And we always go with a really, really, really simple way of explanation. We just say, you bring the asset, we'll bring everything else. We won't buy it, you maintain ownership, you maintain security, and whatever value and profit we make, we'll split. And just keep it really simple from the outset. Once it's sort of verbally agreed and everyone's on board, you then go into the finer detail. And the best way to do that is to not go into legals, is to form a heads of terms document. And a heads of terms is basically a fact find that's completely non-biased and has got all the agreements that you've discussed on paper as simple as possible. And I'm happy to share our heads of terms template if anyone wants it, send me a message. And it basically means that both parties understand and agree everything. So that's got price, timelines, financial put-ins, values, legal implementations, who's covering the legals, things like that. And it's all detailed in this 2, 3, 4 page Word document, and it gets shared back and forth and tweaks and tweaks and tweaks. And what that enables you to do is get a robust document that's got basically the heads of terms that then goes into both legal parties so that you're not utilizing their time to do any further negotiations. So this is an example of a heads of terms document. And like I said, if anyone wants our one, send me a message, I'll send it across. Then you go into legals, you send them the heads of terms. It's technically speaking a joint venture agreement. And you're probably thinking, what solicitor can do an assisted sales document? I wouldn't necessarily say it's an assisted sales document. Like I said, it is basically a joint venture agreement. If you've ever worked with someone before, if you've ever joint ventured with an individual, if you've ever worked with an investor, it's a very similar document, but rather than putting money, they put in the asset. So it's a fairly straightforward process to follow. Any solicitor that's worked in property joint ventures or property loans or property equity partners done before, you can basically take that solicitor through to be comfortable to do this document. The legal stuff is pretty key, evidently, because it's everything. If anything ever goes wrong, it's what you revert back to. And remember, you're the developer that hasn't got security over the assets, that your security is the contract. So there needs to be stipulations in there to protect both parties. So that's pretty much an assisted sale, really briefly overviewed and run through. I've had some WhatsApps, and I can see some messages coming through on the chat. I hope that people are wanting some of my content and some of my templates, happy to share them. And that's pretty much it. It's very difficult for me to go into too much detail on a 40-minute call, but I'm happy to spend time with anyone if they want. We've also got EXP have also got a recorded call on our website about Ben and I discussing basically this and doing a similar presentation. So how could maybe you work with EXP, and how may you know someone that could work with EXP? We have several products that we do. We do source and project manage. So if you're struggling to find or manage projects, we can do either or both. We assist, so we can joint venture with you or landowners or developers or owners. Evidently, you could invest in our business. We have several types of investments in terms of equity and just a straight investment. The Crowd with Us project, which was shown, I don't know how many investors we've got on board now. It's definitely over 40, but they're all getting a percentage return on their investment. We're happy to collaborate. We're not very protective over anything as such. We're very proud of our business and what we do, but we're not protective over particular projects or particular investments. We're more than happy to share what we can do, and we do pay finder's fee if anyone brings a project towards us that we may do with you or without you. So to reiterate, again, we do look at deals through agents, commercial, residential, direct to vendor, but as I mentioned, your network is key. So let us share projects with you and vice versa. Some frequently asked questions I have had before on this presentation. I've only done it a couple of times before, but I have had legal implementation. So yes, the legal document is very sort of robust. It is a joint venture agreement. It's almost like a prenup for business. So it's got to be pretty robust and pretty well thought through. What I mean by that is you have to think of every eventuality. So for example, as an example, what happens if one of the beneficiaries decides to sell their share in the business, and how that generates to the end adjunct. So you have to think of all the implementations. Second to that, who pays for legals? So the legal costs tend to be a couple or $3,000. EXP, what we do is we underwrite it to a threshold. So we offer a certain amount of legals, and the reason we do that is so they don't take the mick and get a really expensive barrister on it. But we also offer that. So it may sound like a couple or $3,000 may be a lot for a developer. But if we're doing deals that have 50 to 300K profit in it, $3,000 up front isn't really a lot of money. And it's a lot less than you would pay if you're buying a house. What security is in place? Really good question that we've had before. So security is obviously pretty key for both investor and bank and the property owner and us. So our security is the contract, sometimes a charge on the asset. The bank security is almost always a charge on the asset. The investor's security might be some stipulation in the contract, or alternatively a charge or personal guarantees. And the owner's security is the ownership of the property tends to be. And then it obviously reverts to the contract. Investment, we sometimes fund it through banks, which I'm sure Kieran can understand. If we have an asset, we sort of support the finance, whether it be bridging or development finance, or alternatively just refinancing on a buy-to-let or something along those lines. You'd be amazed at how many assisted sales are unencumbered. I think it's over 50% of properties in the UK have no debt on them whatsoever. So there's a 50% chance you will not have any finance on that property when you're trying to buy it. So this is a great opportunity to have a lot of flexibility in loan to values to secure debt against them. Second to that, we do sometimes get investors involved if it's a smaller amount. So for example, that Basingstoke 5-bed house to 2-3 beds, we are getting an investor on board just to fund the 100K build. They will get a charge on the asset, and they will get a return on their money. Obviously, you have to be careful with risk warning there. So yeah, open to any questions. I'm going to open up the chat box now, which I haven't actually looked at to date. Sam, do you want to unmute yourself and kind of chair it if you can?
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, hi Jack. Thank you for that brief but very inspirational share. That's been excellent. Yes, there are quite a few questions here, but just before we go in, you made some great comments there, especially about off market and well, below market value. It's always crazy when you meet people and they say, "Oh, I want it off market or below market value." It's a deal. It's a good deal. What I tend to say to people is, if you want an off market deal and below market deal, I recommend you go to your grandma's house Mother's Day and make an offer to buy her property cheap. That's off market and below market value. Anything else is vanity. So thanks for making that comment about the off market deal. And just before we actually go on to people, a few comments in there. Jack, why do you share this? Most people will say, you've got a great product there. Why don't you hide it under your desk and monetize it? Why do you share with people?
I suppose for us, we've never struggled with deal flow, and the only downside to sharing tips on finding deals is we may find less deals because there's more competition. But the area and the range that we operate in is so broad. I don't think I've ever come into real competition with someone that I've shared this stuff with. And even if I have, I would like to think that they're more interested in a joint venture than to form a competitive nature in the bidding process. So I share it purely because you know, there's no particular reason why we can be competing against each other. It's more, I think there's enough deals out there, and I've heard people say it before, and I think, is there? There really is. We have 3 deals in legals. We've made, me personally, across my businesses, I've made 9 acquisitions in the last 13 months. That's not going to slow down because I'm sharing with 80 people how to do an assisted sale. So I think it's more about offering what we do well and helping other people around us. And we're, as a business, we're still young. So we would rather have a better connection and network around us than better deal flow day one, if that makes sense. So we're sort of looking in the long run. And not only that, I've had a mentor, I've had a lot of people that have helped me in my business. So I'd be, you know, I'm more than happy to share what I know or learn, because I think that it's a bit more about giving back as well.
Okay, great response. I mean, like, I've been running networking events for about 7 years, and one of the key questions people keep asking me, Sam, why do you do this event and you bring all your clients and people can take them, your competitors can take them? But see, when you're good at what you do, like you are, it's sharing is just making it bigger. There's absolutely no threat to sharing, which is why we at Midas, we love doing events, bringing all our clients together and competitors to learn from each other. Ati, any questions from the chat?
We have actually got quite a few questions. A lot of people are requesting Jack's details. I'm sure Jack has already shared them on the group. And I know there's a few people that are leaving quite early as well. So just a reminder that this video is on demand. So we will send you out the link where you can watch it again, as well as Jack and everyone else's details too. There was one question earlier on, actually, Jack. You may have answered it, but it's from Tina, and she would like to know, is there a minimum value of property required to make an assisted sale an option?
No, so really good question. I mean, this is the beauty of an assisted sale. If you're buying a really small property, and you've obviously got a trade-off between time versus the profit in it. So we not only look at percentage back on projects, so like percentage on GDV or percentage on costs. We not only look at the project in itself, how it works, we also look on IRR, so interest rate of return per annum, but also what I find key is to look at return on time. So is it a good time investment on returning on, if you're putting in X, are you getting a good value back? So that's a really good question. Can a project be too small, or what's the threshold? In my eyes, an assisted sale works better on smaller deals than doing a development. So for example, if you were to buy an end of terrace house that you could build and it's side and back extension, and it's worth 500K, you've obviously got about 30 you've got about 30K's worth of stamp duty. That's just a dead cost. That's just dead. So when you're buying something and you're spending 20 grand on a kitchen and an extension, that's a cost that you're going to get back when you sell it. A stamp duty cost doesn't get back when you sell it. So in my eyes, an assisted sale, not having to encounter all of the inertia purchase costs, it works great for smaller projects. So I actually think it works slightly better, because sometimes smaller projects aren't worth the time, the investment, and the inertia costs. So in this instance, to answer your question, Tina, I don't think there is a bottom value of how big a deal can be. I mean, in my eyes, I would still do a deal of an assisted sale, because it's just almost like a contractor. So by all means, as small as you can go, the better. Just before we move on to another question, I've put my email in there. If you want any templates, just email me just as a reminder, so I have your email address and I can get them across to you, because evidently if you message on here, I don't have your email address. I'm more than happy to share them all of them with Sam if he wants to email all the attendees. I'm easy either way.
Perfect, brilliant. Thanks for that, Jack. There is another question from Callum. He wants to know, how do you structure the financing on the assisted deals? Are you putting in the cost for the refurb, or are you paying? Hang on a minute. Or are you paying for it in stages?
Cool. No, really, really good question. So financing is one of the more complicated parts of these. I'd have said once the contract's done, it's then the financing, and that's the only two complex parts, really. So the financing changes per deal. So if you have a land deal, it's a lot easier to get finance, because what you can do is you can segregate it into a new limited company. Because it's land, it's low stamp duty, so that transition isn't going to be too costly on a stamp duty. So an easy way to get funding on land stuff is to move it into a new limited company. The new limited company owns the land, and the new limited company gets debt against the asset. If it's a home and a homeowner, that's slightly more complicated. The homeowner may or may not have finance on it already. So one thing you need to be doing is funding it like any other development. You need to make sure they're happy to give it whatever charges away that are required to get the funding on it. So it's the same as any other types of funding. So for example, if you wanted development finance, they would obviously probably take a charge on the asset, and they would do drawdown funding throughout the development as if it was any development. Sometimes, if there's enough equity in the deal, you can just refinance the property and use that spare capital to build it out. The third option you have is if there's enough value in the asset and an external investor is a contact of yours, and you can do that, you can structure an investor coming in and doing that. So there's many ways that you can fund it. The best way to be doing is to speak to someone like Kieran on this call and really speaking to him about how he can fund it. You do have to be creative, because it is creative and it is unique. So to answer the question, there's many ways that you can fund it. The easiest way is private investor, if that makes sense, because they're a lot more flexible. You can sort of bring them into the JV / the contract, and obviously they can be a bit more vested in the project. So there's many ways you can do it. Banks will lend, challenger banks will lend. It's just about how you structure it and making sure that they give you security. One key thing that we always do when we're funding anything is think about the bank's perspective. So great, you think the asset's worth X, but is the bank going to think it's worth X? So you sort of put your mind in their shoes.
Okay, so Jack, in terms of assisted sales, if I am a buy-to-let investor and I've got a property in Wembley, which I bought ages ago for 300,000, is now worth 700,000 if I sell it straight. But if you do some development on it, we can sell for $1 million, 1.1 as an assisted sale. That would mean my capital gain tax would be slightly higher than what it would be if I sold it directly. How would you take that in consideration when you structure the JV proposition?
Yeah, really good question. So what would be the, just out of interest, because I think this is going to be relevant to my answer, what would be the end product if we did a joint venture? Would it be flat?
I mean, it's a hypothetical question, so you can give the hypothetical.
Yeah, so
flat you sell, or house that you sell.
So nine times out of 10, when you're doing an assisted sale, you're adding more units to whatever it is. the more basically development is, the more units you create, the more value you're creating. And that tends to be sort of a really, really broad rule of thumb. And I know that there's going to be a lot of stipulations where that's not the case, but let's use that as an assumption that most development is adding more units. Realistically, if I bought a 5-bed house and made it a 10-bed house, I'm not going to be able to sell it. So I don't want to be part of those deals. But if I converted one side to you know, a 3-bed, 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 it's more saleable and it makes more profit. So to answer your question on capital gains, you obviously have a capital gains allowance per year. So if you've got a big lumpy asset that you're trying to sell and is not selling, if a developer came on and split it all up and diced it as almost like a consultant, you've got way more flexibility to be more tax efficient when it comes to capital gains. So you could sell 1 unit 1 year, you could hold 3 and sell 2. There's a lot of other ways around it. So it's basically building a bit more of a functionality around of your exit, because currently your exit is sell 1 asset, or rent that asset, or keep that asset. But when you go into an assisted sale or to a development, you're basically increasing your chances to be more tax efficient or be more financially efficient to make a better decision on what you want to do with this particular asset by slicing it up and adding more avenues to monetize. So to answer your question, we've had this a number of times with a number of people. And all we say is, look, this is what the most valuable scheme is. So for example, 6 flats. How do you want to do it to be most efficient in your current situation? And then we do get accountants and tax advisors involved, because in that process, you can make as much of a saving as you can as an earning. So to answer your question, we believe that there's a lot more avenues for exit once we come on board and add some creativity to it.
Okay, great. I think there's some great questions that are coming in now, and more about the general market and what you think. But because of the time aspect of it, we're going to move on to Yasmin right now. But Jack, we hope that you'll be able to come back at the end for the Q&A. But if you really cannot make it back at the end, it's been fantastic having you on. There's a lot of value you've shared. And again, I like to put people on the spot. We will be doing an event where, like we'll have an event later tonight where we've just got Jay Howard on as the only speaker, because he's a one-man panel. And I strongly believe you have the ability and content to be a one-man panel. So no pressure there, but I think one of our events will be bringing you back as a one-man panel so that you can have a longer time to share the value that you have. So Jack, thank you once more for the brilliant share. And we hope to have you back at the end if you're still around, but if not, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very much. My details are there, so if anyone wants to contact me, please do. I think, Sam, shall I send you all of the content that people want, and you can...
Absolutely, yes, please. If you send that, then myself and Archie will send it out to everyone, because there are quite a lot of people on Facebook who have shared it on Facebook. Everyone on Facebook is asking, can they get the content? So I've said to everyone to do that.
Yes, there's a big request on this chat as well. So please don't leave your details on here.
So there's lots on Facebook. So that's why you can see me looking down. I'm doing the Facebook chat as well. So multitasking is one of the skills I've learned from being locked down. So yes. So thank you, Jack. And now I think we'll move on to Yasmin. Yasmin, are you able to share your screen?
I'll try.
Yeah, if you do a share, I've made you a co-host, so you have the ability to share.
Let me see if I can share.
So,
can you see my? Oh yeah, it's there.
Yes,
thank
you. Brilliant.
Yes. You're
eventually it's working.
So today, again, for those who've probably just joined us while we've been on air, today it's our Ask the Property Entrepreneur event, an event which Midas Property Group, we run post just before the network auction starts, which it will be at 12 o'clock.
Right, 12:30, yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, 12:30, right?
At 12:30.
Oh, okay, great. And then that will give us more time for the Q&A. So normally this event takes place in a very luxurious hotel in
Mayfair. Yeah.
However, today we've decided to have it, because of obvious reasons, in the luxury of your homes, which I believe probably is more luxurious than that hotel. So yes, we've had Jack done a fantastic presentation. Right now, we move on to Yasmin, who is our lawyer that we work with on lots of deals, and we think whatever entrepreneurs do, you've heard from Jack how to structure a JV deal, assisted sale. There's always that equation. You need a lawyer in there to make it all binding. So Yasmin, I'll let you explain yourself and take on from here. All right, thank you.
Sam. Thank you, Sam. Well, for people who joined us right now, I'm just going to introduce myself first. My name is Yasaman Asaad. I'm a real estate solicitor working with Ronald, Fletcher, Baker Solicitors. I'm dealing with residential and commercial transactions. I'm also a specialist in auction transactions, sale and purchase as well. And we have decided that I can come in today, join everybody, and help you if you have any questions in relation to the auction, sale and purchase, and in relation to the property auction deals. I'm going to talk about the legal pack today. The legal pack, it's kind of is a gather of a lot of information and documents, which is going to be in the website of the auction and is available prior to the auction for everybody to view. Whoever wants to, for example, bid on a property, there is a specific legal pack in relation to that property. You need to make sure you will go through the legal pack, and you need to make sure you have your solicitors on board to do the due diligence in relation to the documents in the legal pack. I have a lot of clients coming to me after they exchange contracts in auction. That's fine, but the point is, as soon as you exchange contracts in the auction, you legally bound yourself to complete your transaction. So if there is any missing documents in the legal pack, then we have to try and see if we can obtain that from the seller solicitors. Otherwise, they are not under any duty to disclose or to even answer the further questions in relation to the documents. So it's always better to be safe and to involve your solicitors from the beginning, to review the legal pack, to provide you with the reports in relation to the legal pack, and then you are safe to go ahead and bid on the property. Okay, what should be included in the legal pack? There are different documents, and it depends if the property is a leasehold or freehold, and there are different documents you should be expect to see in the legal pack. But I summarize the main documents that it has to be in the legal pack of whether the property is leasehold or freehold is official copy of the register. This is going to show you who is the owner of the property. You might not be able to see the name of the person, the owner of the property, but you can see at least how long that owner or the vendor has owned the property. If the property is leasehold, you are expected to see the lease in the legal pack. Your solicitors must go through the terms of the lease, because it's very important. Whether you buy the property for, as a first-time buyer, probably to live in, or if you are buying the property as an investor for buy-to-let, you must make sure that your solicitors giving you a full advice in relation to the terms of the lease, how you can let the property, if you can short let the property, if you can even let the property at all, because there are some terms of some leases that you are prohibited from letting the property whatsoever. So it's very important, because you want to make a profit when you buy a property in auction. It's not just about completing your transaction in auction, it's about buying a right property for yourself. Another document which is going to be in the auction is searches. It's like a residential or commercial searches. It will give you information in relation to local authority, flooding, environmental search, probably subsidence, and different information. If the property is already rented in the, and the property has entered into the auction and is already set in the catalog that is already rented, there is a tenant in the property, you must be able to see a tenancy agreement and the documents which has been served on the tenant from the beginning of the tenancy. These are very important documents. Most of the times I've seen that the property was tenanted, but there is no tenancy agreements, or there is no information in relation to the tenants in the property. This is very important. You need to, make a note of it. And if you are bidding on a property which is tenanted, make sure you see at least some documents in relation to the tenancy. Management pack. If the property is leasehold, you are expected to see management pack in the legal documents, in the legal pack. Management pack will give you information in relation to the amount of the service charge, ground rent, and if there is any major work, Section 20 notice, which is in relation to the major work, like a landlord or the managing agent are expecting in the next 2 years to carry out major work in relation to the refurbishment of the building. That's going to be costly. Sometimes it's going to cost like £20,000, £100,000, and it's going to be divided into the different flats. It depends how many flats are there. So it is quite important to look into this management pack as well. There are protocol forms called property information forms and leasehold information forms that the seller usually they fill these forms, and it has to be submitted in the legal pack as well. Some properties they don't have property information forms, and if, for example, you involve your solicitors prior to the auction, we can make inquiries and ask the seller if they can provide this kind of information for us. More important documents in the legal pack are special conditions. You see the property, the price is very good, the location is very good, you go ahead and bid on the property, let's say for £200,000. At the time of the completion, you will receive a completion statement from your solicitors that they are asking, for example, you have to pay for completing your transaction. Let's say you pay the 10% on the auction day, that's fine, £20,000 gone. You are expecting to pay like £180,000 to complete your transaction. But all of a sudden you'll receive a completion statement from your solicitors, which is £220,000. So what is it? Because you think I've already paid a 10% deposit, and I was expecting, or I was thinking I'm going to pay just £180,000. What is that, £40,000 or let's say £20,000 extra? You need to be careful because it depends on the type of the transaction. The seller can ask you to reimburse him for his legal cost, auction cost, and any other disbursement that he incurred to put his property in the auction. So it's really important for your solicitors, your conveyancer, to look into the special conditions and make sure it's not just because of the extra funds that you have to pay. There are different conditions. Sometimes the lease, for example, if it's a leasehold property, sometimes the lease doesn't have a lease plan. The lease is already defected. This is why probably these properties end up in auction, because in the normal sale, they couldn't sell it because the lease was defected. So you need to really make sure that your conveyancer or your solicitors is looking into all of these documents and giving you a proper report before auction. There are different documents, it depends on this, each seller that they want to add in to the legal pack, like energy performance certificate or any other additional or relevant documents, like let's say FENSA certificates for installation of the new windows, or building regulation certificates for the work that the seller probably has done in the property, like loft extension or rear extension of the property or something like that. Steps you need to take when buying a property. The first steps you need to take is physically go and see the property. If you see the property in the catalog, that's fine. The property can have a very nice picture in the catalog, but just make sure if you want to buy it, even as a property for living or as investment, just make sure you can go and see the property, because you have that option before the auction to see the property, to inspect the property yourself. It will be useful if you can instruct a surveyor as well, or you can take a surveyor with yourself to see the property. So the surveyor has a different eyes to see the properties, like for example, for subsidence or different kind of, defects maybe in the property that you, and for example, you can't see that, but the surveyor, because it's his job, they can note it. Make sure you do your due diligence in relation to legal pack again. And then the next step is just make sure your funds is in place. Either you are buying all in cash, or either you are buying as a joint venture with your business partners, or you have a pre kind of loan agreement with any lenders you are making sure that you are getting a mortgage from that lender. Just make sure your funds is also in place, because usually the completion date in auction purchase and sale is 28 days, like 20 working days, which is just 28 days. So you need to make sure you have your funds ready within that time limit. Again, there were some actually questions in my previous webinars in relation to what if, for example, we buy the property and we find out that there is a there is something, all of a sudden we notice that there is something wrong with the property and it wasn't disclosed? Or what if we buy the property and there is a arrears of service charge on the property? Let's say it's a leasehold flat. Who's going to pay that? The seller has to pay that because it was in relation to the duration of the occupation of the seller. I just bought the property yesterday and all of a sudden I have £5,000, arrears of service charge. All these issues are down to your solicitors reviewing the legal pack before auction. But in any event, the only thing I can say, the seller.
Yasmin,
yes.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? I know you're very busy. You're probably not seeing my chat because we are running out of time on a timeline. Do you want to just please just sorry for my rude interruption, but I think you're not seeing your chat. If you can just please summarize and then you can get more questions and answers to cover on the Q&A.
Okay, then that's fine.
If you don't mind, okay.
That's fine. I'll just move to the different investment types or different type of auction properties that you can buy in the property. In the auction. Different type of investments that you can buy in auction. There are buy-to-let properties you can go ahead with, refurbish and refinance, buy a property, refurbish it and sell it again, or buy a property and make it into the HMOs, provided that subject to obtaining all the relevant authorities, relevant consent from the authorities, or service accommodations. I think more or less I've already emphasized enough that you need your team actually to be available when you are buying any property, either from auction or from normal one. Your solicitors must be on board, your surveyor and your mortgage provider, your broker, or the business partner who can provide and chip in for the completion money into the funds to complete your transaction. I'm happy, Sam, to answer any questions now, if you want.
Okay. Yasmin,
yes?
what we'll do, we'll take the questions at the end. It will be a Q&A. So you and Yemi will then do a Q&A at the end.
Sure.
Listen, so thank you for the insight into the legals. And again, like we said earlier, any property deal, you need to make sure you got all the legals covered. If you're doing a JV, assisted sale, you get the legals have to be covered. So thank you, and we'll come back to you again once we done all the presentation for the Q&A.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if you can just stop sharing your screen, and then I'll share mine shortly. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back. Okay, just again, I'm just trying to find a video that I'm gonna share with you. Just bear with me 1 second.
No worries, Sam. While you find that video, I know a lot of people are requesting information still, so I've just put a message out there to say that Midas Property Group will be sharing all the details for all the speakers today. So that email will be in your inbox in a couple of hours, so do watch out for that. It's more likely to come from either myself or from InfoAct. So watch out for that email, which would be in your inbox very soon. And we've also got another event on as well tonight, so we will be sharing those details very soon as well.
Yeah, actually, while I'm looking for this video, if there is any particular question for Yasmin, maybe she can take.
Yes, if anybody's got any questions for Yasmin in particular, feel free to message on the chat or in the Q&A forum. At the moment, I can't see many questions. I'll have a quick look on social media as well for any question as well.
Okay. Okay, there's a hand raised.
Just as I leave. Sure, no problem. There's a hand raised. Let's have a quick look.
Okay. Oh, okay. So where's that video? I had a video post here, but let me just get it back on. Okay.
Can't see any hands raised at the moment.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Right. Sam is looking for a video, and
I think I've found the screen that's on. So okay. Can we all see my screen right now? The screen I'm sharing.
Yes.
Okay. So our next Our next guest is someone that I would want us to watch this video about him before I actually just introduce him, so that we set the stage for who he is before I then take on to introduce him. Okay.
Global had an exclusive sit-down with property tycoon Yemi Edun, the man behind the independent estate agency.
Okay. Is the sound? Can everyone hear?
No.
Can you get the sound?
One of them is Yemi Edun,
Okay.
the man behind Daniel Ford & Co., who has sold over 1,000 properties. Channels Business Global had an exclusive sit-down with property tycoon Yemi Edun, the man behind the independent estate agency Daniel Ford & Co. There are some real estate agents that remain resilient. One of them is Yemi Edun, the man behind Daniel Ford & Co., who has sold over 1,000 properties worth over £500 million. Yemi, welcome to Channels Business Global. Thank you for opening your lavish stores. I must say it's quite lavish. We're in King's Cross, which is a nice part of central London. Is your story a rags to riches tale?
I wouldn't say that. If you say organic, definitely organic. You know, started off as a negotiator, more like an apprentice in West Hampstead, and had the opportunity to grow. And with Daniel Ford from 4 properties, we are talking of over 500 properties. Rags, definitely not, but organic growth. And I don't think there's a better way to grow than growing organically, because I understand every element of the business, you know, from bottom to the top.
I suppose that's key, isn't it, when you're running your own successful company. Daniel Ford & Co. has been described as a traditional real estate agency. What does that mean?
A traditional real estate firm will refer to a firm that offers a personal service. You understand your client and you don't see them as a punter. And I think we've earned that title. Most of our business have come by referral, return business. And one of our greatest claim to fame is the fact that we're dealing with second generation buyers. So we have clients now that their parents used to buy from us. The proceeds of their rent, you know, paid for their school tuition and all that. And this kids, in quotes, you know, used to, you know, before the internet days, used to come and take their allowance by check here. Now they are buying. So, you know, so we are traditional. We use modern technology, but the key elements of the interpersonal relationship is still very much there.
I presume the property market, as with all industries, has evolved, and that's partly due to the internet, and then of course there's social media. How do you stay above the trend?
I have to keep in tune. We infuse in our team younger brains as well, fresh brains, and they keep us in tune with what's going on. This is London. London is a dynamic city. And I think one of the best things about this city that has suffered 2 World War bombings is that it's still relevant. You can go to Docklands and see modern, and you go to some parts of central London, and you're just totally lost in the old ages. So, and that's what we've tried to match ourselves in our operations and our delivery.
Operations and delivery, how is it delivered? Because I must say, some would say you're a pretty flamboyant character, and you're definitely the personality behind Daniel Ford & Co. Tell me a little bit about your setup and your staffing and how you manage the day-to-day running of the business.
I'm not sure about flamboyance. I'm a confident character, but definitely I wouldn't address myself as being flamboyant. However, the beauty about the team is longevity. We understand ourselves. I had someone that was here for 16 years. I've had someone that's been here 18 years. And, you know, so the ethos, the value just runs through. So the team, we retain the best, and we don't have to tell the ones that don't meet up to look elsewhere.
Okay, that's a pretty succinct answer there. What are some of the most challenging things when it comes to running a day-to-day property portfolio that's as big as yours? And you know, it is absolutely massive. Would you say that Brexit and the uncertainty is, you know, leaking into buyers' confidence?
London is a unique market. I must tell you, in actual terms, we've actually done more this year than we've done in the last 2 years. You know, it's all about confidence, understanding, and understanding that property itself is not a short-term investment. It's a long-term investment. I tell people that, look, the best time to buy is when you can afford. You know, Brexit is an issue. It's made us engage more, you know, allaying fears, explaining things. But if you're buying any property in London under £1 million, I don't think you have any cause to worry.
That's quite interesting, actually. So you think it's people that are spending more money that are affected potentially by Brexit?
Well, if you're buying properties over £2 million as an investment, right, you have to weigh and try and get the best deal. However, if you're buying a property as a home, we all need a roof over our head. So Brexit or no Brexit, if you want to live close to a particular area because of the good schools, of work, you still have to go ahead with it. You know, just try and get the best deal for yourself. London is strong.
What's your opinion on Brexit?
Like everyone, it's so hazy. I don't, you know, when you say opinion, I wouldn't like to voice my personal preference. However, like everyone, every serious-minded Londoner or British citizen, resident and citizen.
Okay. Oh, get that back. Hello. Yes, we're back. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sam.
Yes, okay. Thanks again. I think we're back now. So that video got truncated. And I think that is how I would introduce Yemi. Yemi, as you've heard in the video, runs one of the biggest overseas acquisition agency in the UK. Yemi buys a lot of properties, and his team, they acquire lots of properties for clients abroad in the UK. We've heard a lot of COVID, it's all over the world, but one of the, we all live in London, so we need to look at it from London, from a UK perspective. And Yemi is going to share with us in a few minutes his perspective of how and what the overseas investment market is, and how he perceives or expects this to affect the market. Yemi, welcome, and it would be great to have you introduce yourself. Did you want to share something?
I think he's muted. Yemi, if you can hear us, you need to unmute yourself. So sorry. There you go. That's better.
Yemi.
Hi.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yemi. It's a pleasure to have you on, Yemi. You know, thanks to lockdown, I've been trying to get you on the panel for like 3-4 years. I think finally lockdown kept you in one location for me to have you on. So, Yemi, so did you want me to share anything for you, or you've shared it?
I'm putting it on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you look on, there's a green button that says share.
You're right.
Yeah, if you do that and then you search for the screen and click on it, it will share it. And then if not, okay.
Can you see me though?
Yes, I can see you. Yes, we can see you clearly. Yes.
I'll just get on with things.
Okay, get on with it, and then I'll share it from my end. I think I have that PDF as well. Okay, just get on. Keep talking about the market. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much, MDG, for giving me and Daniel for this opportunity. At this point in time, every opportunity we have to share our views and opinion will be taken. Daniel Ford International is one of a group of companies. We started off with Daniel Ford & Co. We've been in this space for over 20 years, growing from a property of 4 in our portfolio to just short of 600 properties now. But the properties are predominantly spread all over London, mostly within the M25. I myself, I'm a financial advisor. I've been doing that in one way or the other for the last 20 years. The company, Daniel Ford International, is an acquisition agent, as you have described earlier. And what we do is we are a buyer's buyer. We act for a buyer that is looking at buying property in London. There's nothing like local knowledge. And over the years we've been doing this, we've learned 1 or 2 things. Most properties don't make their way to the search portals like Rightmove and Zoopla. There are divorces, there are probate sales, there are bank foreclosures. There are different ways that people try to sell their property. And in some instances, they don't want the noise. They don't want people, especially the high-valued properties. You know, we've dealt with properties that when the paintings in the property was valued after the death of the owner, the value was in excess of £10 million. Such a family would not want you or anybody going into their property. So the benefit of dealing with a firm like ourselves is we pre-qualify clients and we only act for people that are ready. You know, speed is the least of our targets. You know, getting the right property for the client is what we pride ourselves with, and that's why we've been able to grow organically over the years. Because when people go to people's home and say, "Oh, this is nice. How did you get this?" They tell them, you know, it's Daniel Ford. You know, so part of the setup is the fact that it's a one-stop shop. So we meet you, understand why you're buying, where you're buying, and how you want to buy. So when that process is finalized, it could be via auction. We're very popular in the auctions. You know, I will share a quick story about my first auction bid. It was at the Cumberland Hotel, and it was at the, thank you, Sam. It was at the Cumberland Hotel, and there was a property on Cromwell Road, which I found or identified. You know, this was about many years back. And when I got to the room, it was quite intimidating. There were over 500 people in the room. And before I could compose myself, you know, they were doing it in multiples of ones. Then before I knew it, the property was sold. But at times, a bad start sets you up for a stronger showing in any show. Since that, I would like to say that I didn't even manage to raise my hand up for that bid on the day. But over the years, we've forged very good relationships with various auction houses. We are now a force to be reckoned with when we go into an auction room. I've had situations whereby we bought properties and someone would approach immediately after the bid that, can I buy that property off you? And I'm like, you were in the room, why didn't you bid? And he said, look, there's no point bidding against you because we know you would win anyway. So we have, I believe, a strong brand. We are trusted. We deal with a lot of banks. You know, we go on road shows with different banks. We advise them on what the clients and the buyers are looking at, and vice versa, we advise the clients. You know, there are many questions even before I came on board. You know, this brochure showcases some of the things we've done in the past. Mainly our client base are buyers from Nigeria, beg your pardon. And Ghana, Nairobi, but predominantly 80% of our clients are from Nigeria. We also advise and represent high net worth individuals in the UK. So your footballers, artists, you know, imagine a big artist going to buy a property in a prime location in London. Most likely the vendor would not budge on the price. But with a firm like ours, we don't need to disclose who is buying till the deal is done, and in some cases, you will never know who bought your property. So we safeguard the interests of our buyer. We keep our ears on the ground to know what's going on statutorily and community-wise, you know, because there are some things that don't make the news, don't make the world space, you know, and you have various reasons why overseas people buy in the UK. From our client base, you would notice a similarity in the countries that most of our clients come from. Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya are all former colonies of Britain. So these countries nationals of these countries come to the UK without a culture shock. These are people that can get into England and from the one starts, you know, they speak the same lingua, they understand the basics, they can get on with things, and they are comfortable with the city and the city is comfortable with them. They know exactly what they want, you know. I have a client that they've got 4 generations that attended Oxford. So what do you want to teach the next generation coming? You know, they already know their sights are set on where they want to school. They know where to get their medical facilities. They know the football club they support, you know. So lifestyle plays a big part in why people buy in London. The stability of the pound is very, very important against these countries I've mentioned, you know. Stability of the pound, lifestyle, education. Most of these nationals, you know, they yearn for what the British universities provide. And the fact that it's just about 6 hours away from Accra and Lagos helps as well. I've had clients that are coming on a Saturday morning, see a football match, and are back on their desk on Monday. So pretty much the type of people we've represented over the years are your private businessmen, women, inherited money, to the new generation buyers like your movie stars, you know, the Nollywood, the Gollywood, lottos, practitioners, betting proprietors, and things like that. We've come this far, but there seems to be like a target because the government needs to cover the black hole. The government needs to raise money. And one of the easiest assets to target is property. And the ones that are not politically damaging are overseas buyers. So prior to 2015, you as a foreigner can buy and own a property in the UK, sell the property and take your money gross, you know. But from 2015, the government came out with a tax, which UK residents have had to deal with over the years, the capital gains tax. But the way it works is all your gains up to 2015 on a property you've owned prior to 2015 would not be exposed to capital gains tax. But going forward from 2015, any gains that property accrue would be taxable. For our clients, we've informed them and advised them to do valuation of their property as at 2015, so that when they decide to sell, it would be easily addressed. But now we've battled with Brexit for about 3 years. With the election in December, we thought finally we can get to business as usual. Unfortunately, we've had to deal with this pandemic. right? There are various things that overseas buyers are about to deal with. And there was a particular question that was sent on screen just before I came on that I would have to touch on. It was about how do you deal with money laundering? Money laundering itself, the first time it really became an issue was after the terrorism of 9/11. And basically laws were brought out to follow the money, to know where the money is coming from and all that, you know. There are clear defined steps, you know, by the authorities on what we need to do. It started off with the KYC, then the reporting came out, and various other things that you need to keep an eye on. So money laundering itself, it's a broad law. But for properties, the key thing for us is we need to know our clients. We need to validate where their source of fund is coming from. But we as an outfit, we don't deal with money. Money goes through solicitors doing a purchase. So the solicitors have their money laundering obligations. The banks have their money laundering obligation. It was something that when it came on, it took a while to understand exactly how to go about it. But I think a lot of people in the industry understand it better, and we're better positioned to deal with things. And for people coming from supposedly hot countries, you know, the most important thing is the source of funds. Once the source of funds is clear and is verifiable, you can do business in Britain. But remember, 6 years down the line, someone can ask you a question, you should be able to answer that question. So I believe I've jumped myself by answering that question, Sam. But where we are now with the COVID, one of the questions that have been coming up, I've had to deal with in the last couple of weeks is people that agreed a deal prior to COVID. So deals that were agreed December, January, February. Should we go ahead at the same price that the deal was agreed at? You know, for a buyer's buyer, my interest is the buyer, right? And although everything is on a case-by-case basis, the first rule for me is we are not facing the same dynamics as we were in February. So you need to look at it. Are you paying too much? And that's why I think everybody buying a property should take professional advice. One of the basic way to do this is get a valuer, but it goes beyond valuation. You know, using an acquisition agent shows that you are a strong buyer. You know, we've had situations whereby vendors have gone with our buyer who was offering less because the vendor knows that for the buyer to be paying someone, right, like Daniel Ford to represent them, they must be serious, because there's no point being offered £50,000 more for your property and at the last minute the person can't arrange the facility or can't come up with the funds to complete. So what we've been doing, I am my team in the last, my team and myself in the last 2 weeks, what we've been doing is we've been advising people on a case-by-case basis. We were able to agree 7% discount on a development in North London from one of the biggest developers in the country. You know, property purchase or property transaction is no different from a marketplace. You know, there's a feel and touch. You smell blood. You see the vulnerability of the other side, and you have to push when the iron is hot. And on that basis, I think you should at least have a conversation with the agent or the vendor if you agreed a price pre-COVID. That is the pertinent question most people are raising now. The other question I keep getting is, can we get some properties at half price? I think the beauty of London, you know, I keep saying London because London is the business. You know, my client base, 90% of their purchase is London centric. It's very difficult to even get a 20% discount on a property. I don't see why anybody, you know, if anybody is giving you a 20% discount, I would want you to really look at that transaction, because you might be buying something that you will regret going forward. You know, there's so much that can be given away on a property that maybe has a mortgage or encumbrance. You know, Sam, are you saying something?
No, just if you can round up, there are lots of questions for you, which will ask you more about the process.
Okay, do you want to go into the question then?
You can round up for a few minutes.
Yeah, so a lot of people have asked me questions on what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next year. And experts, I believe, are defined as people that can, you know, come up with facts on matters, or people that have experienced the issue. None of us living have experienced this issue. And I dare say that anybody with the tag expert at this time will be either an expert that doesn't know, or an expert that doesn't know and doesn't know that he doesn't know. You know, we are all living this experience. We can try, but I can't definitely tell anyone what's going to happen next year. We're not sure if a second wave is going to come. But as it is, right, banks are still lending, albeit the loan to value for the UK residents has been adjusted. For the foreign buyers, not much so. And I know there are quite a few of them that's joined us today. The benefit they have is that the pound is relatively weak compared to the dollar. I remember when we used to go to the US to shop, because your pound practically got you the pound practically got you $2, you know. Now, pound is relatively weak for people that earn dollars. The surcharge, there's a stamp duty surcharge coming for overseas buyers from next year. There's an additional 2% coming up, and a lot of people are trying to, you know, close their property transaction prior to that. One thing I need to mention is that once you exchange before April next year, that won't affect you. The 2% additional surcharge won't impact you. But London is still strong. London is still a place to invest. There are many challenges. There are many adjustments in laws and all that. But that is what has sustained London. That is what has kept London, you know, the city to be compared to so many other cities in the world. All these changes would only strengthen the city. If you look at things like money laundering, if different money keep coming into London, it will be difficult to compete, you know, because it's not a level playing field. So it could be from Moscow, Venezuela, or Nigeria. If people come in and buy properties without negotiating, it basically takes out other people that can't afford such money. So I think London is still strong. We don't know how things are going to pan out in the immediate future, but because London is a positional good, historically, most people in the world that have money crave for a London property. I remember about 4 years ago, a Chinese came and said, look, I'm interested in the most expensive property in London. He didn't know location. All he wanted was the most expensive property in London. And he bought a £100 million property. So there are not many cities in the world that people come in and say, look, what's the most expensive property you have? And I want to take it, you know. So this is just to allay the fears of our clients and prospective people that want to come onto the market, that London will survive this. Like, thankfully, it's global, but London as a city has the stability to survive this.
Excellent. Yemi, I think on that you ended on a high note for about London. And of course, the story goes for the whole of the UK as well. So thank you for that share. It's been great. There are lots of questions in the chat box, but just before we go to the questions, just some remarks on what you mentioned. It was great that you shared your auction story about going in for the first time, and people that have gone in quite a few times, but they still have the same fear. It's for that reason that we have like an auction workshop that we run for a whole day. It's amazing. I hear these stories all the time. People that go to bid and then they freeze. I mean, of course, one of my claim to fame is that for the past 6-7 years, I've been to every single auction in London because we auction house auction, because we do the pre-auction events. So yeah, so I think for anyone, I think Ati will put in the link to that workshop. If people want to come on board, we will definitely, you can learn how not to freeze up on the day, because even an experienced pro can do that. You've shared a lot with us today about your buying from abroad. What I'm going to do, Ati, I've got some questions, but
yes,
do you want to read one from the chat?
Sure, no problem. I'm just going to find the link as well, guys. So I will be sharing the workshop link with you guys. Right, I've got a question here. I'm just going to start from the bottom. Hi, Yemi. This is from Rajesh. What do you think is the best creative property investment strategy during the current challenging market, both in the UK and in London? That's for you, Yemi.
Okay. Well, a strategy question. Okay, you can start with that. Okay, I thought it was.
You know that question is a particular question. It's a question that it will be better if because we need to know the nuance of the individual. Is it, are you buying to keep long term? What are you buying for? Is it a family investment? It will be best to have a conversation. It's too vague to give a specific answer.
Okay, and I think okay, I think there's one that says in terms of overseas buyer buying in the UK, do you think UK leaving the EU might affect that supply of buyers? Yes, you can take that on.
Is that for me?
Yes. Do you think that the UK leaving the EU, would that affect overseas buyers? I think you can cover that with the pandemic as well. Would the EU exit affect overseas buyers from buying the UK?
Well, historically, the EU nations or nationals are not buyers. They don't have a culture of buying properties. They are more inclined to rent. The biggest EU nationals in the UK are Polish. It would affect London on rental if people live en masse. All these things are playing out. We are not really sure what's going to happen. But in terms of the sales, EU nationals don't traditionally buy. I had a questionnaire go around. We have our offices like United Nations. We have people from all over the world, from Bolivia to Colombia to France, French, Spanish, and all that. So we had a questionnaire go around about a property lottery sometime last year, just to get the pulse of people. And the French guy said he won't pay more than £1 for a lottery. I said, the property is £500,000. He said, I would rather buy cigarette than spend £5 on a property lottery. So you need to understand their mentality. In France, Spain, they are more inclined to rent. So I don't see Brexit, or rather the EU nationals are not they are not a big block in buying, but we need them for the rental.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, then and by the way, Yasmin is now back. We'll have the Q&A session now. So if anyone has a question for Yasmin, they can actually ask as well. So if you start looking at the legal questions as well, and I think Jack might have gone into his event now, so he's not able to come back on the Q&A. There's someone asks what are the process if someone wants to buy from Nigeria and they want finance? How do you, in a 90-second bite, how do you actually go through that?
We are a London property acquisition company, so we are focused on London. We have contacts in Nigeria. There are banks in Nigeria that offer mortgages, and there are developers that offer developer mortgages as well. If you contact me offline, I am able to shed more light on that. But the company is actually London Property Acquisition.
Okay, okay. Then Yasmin, Yasmin, can I unmute you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes. We've got a legal question here for you. Someone is saying, in terms of buying at auction, this is from Facebook. When is the best time to look at the legals? Is it to look at legals for going to view the property, or what time is the best time to get a lawyer involved?
Well, I would say as soon as you are interested on any auction plot, get your solicitors involved from the beginning, okay? You don't need to instruct the solicitors to do anything on that time, but you can say to the solicitors, be on board, I'm interested on that lot. And as soon as you think that you are going to buy that property, then involve the solicitors, let them review the legal pack.
Okay, okay. So that's great. I think there's a question here again on Facebook from Ore Adetunji to Yemi. Question for Yemi: do you often deal with international buyers, buy-to-let investors, or do you think you will see a reduction in buyers due to COVID? I think that's quite a few people asking about the effect of COVID. Would there be a reduction of interest in London because of COVID?
The immediate reaction we are getting doesn't point to that. Remember that we are not living in isolation. The COVID is a global situation. And let's take Nigeria, for instance. What was competing with people buying in London or looking at earning income from London property? Things that were doing better, or products that were doing better than London property were the Nigerian treasury bills, which was giving a return of between 12 to 14%. That's dropped to about 2 or 3% if you can even invest at all. Also, the exposure of currency devaluation or exposure to currency devaluation, you know, at the point in time, the Naira to the pound was close to 1-to-1, definitely stronger than the dollar many, many years ago. As of today, you are talking of close to 400 or just a little bit shy above 400 Naira to 1. So there are still very, very strong reasons to buy in London, and the phones have not stopped ringing. The purchasing power of the overseas buyers might be limited because of their currency, but if they can, I still believe most people would rather buy in London.
Okay, okay, great. So, okay, that's fantastic. Okay, there's a question here, Yasmin. It's more about JV on that. If two or three people want to buy a property, what's the best sort of structure that they can hold that property in?
Well, okay. There are different options that they may have. Okay, the simple or the quickest and the short answer is they can enter into the joint venture agreement, or they can set up a SPV. It depends on the individual transactions and their circumstances. We can get into more details after this session. If they want, they can contact me and I can explain more.
Okay. Then yeah, because like I said, this is online, so you can see me. I'm looking down because I'm looking at Facebook, getting questions from Facebook as well. But we have to prioritize those on Zoom. But before we go on the Facebook, which I'm looking at, because we have people from worldwide. Yemi, oil and gas. recently we heard oil and gas prices were negative, which to the ordinary man on the street, you're literally being paid to take diesel, which of course, for you people that know, it wasn't exactly what happened. But what has been the effect, or what do you think the effect of the drop in oil and gas prices will have on the UK housing market? Because I think there's a strong correlation between the UK housing market and the oil and gas prices.
You know, it would, when the price was next to nothing, that was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. Things have since changed. I think the Brent, the last time I checked, is now hovering around 25, 30. The oil market is like a stock exchange now. So UK properties, London properties are a long-term investment. So we shouldn't look, you know, that's their world, you know, and people go in and out, you know. 10, 15 years ago, I didn't have a single client that was into lottery or betting business. Now we have so many of them buying. So as the oil and gas industry, which you're right, is a big industry, you know, as it goes through its own challenges, there are other people, there are new money coming in, there is inheritance money. One of the things that's going to affect this market are the 3 Ds: debt, divorce, and divorce, you know. So the same way it's happening here, it's happening in other climes. People are coming into new monies through other ways. The IT guys are making more money than a whole town or a whole city was making years back. So we have new entrants into the market. I wouldn't be really bothered about a challenge from a particular sector. Because really, when you talk of trophy properties over £5 million, how many properties do you buy in a lifetime over £5 million? So if you are really a big player in the oil and gas sector, you probably buy one trophy property and an investment portfolio, which you build over time, you know. So I'm not worried about that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I covered this with Jack about him sharing what he does instead of hiding it, and he covered it quite well. I mean, most people that come to Midas, they know I normally do a presentation about Midas. One of the things that we do with Midas, that we do acquisition for overseas clients. So if you look at it in terms of, for academic reasons, Daniel Ford and Midas Property Group are competitors, but I think the way we deal with each other is very far from the way you and I and interact, and the way I see you interact with many other people in the industry. It's far from you seeing it as competition. I mean, we've done a deal recently. Myself, you 1.9 million. But the beauty about that deal, just for the audience, is that I had showed you that property about 2 years ago, and we couldn't do a deal on it. After a year or 2 years, it came to you. You came back to me because you had seen it through me. That says a lot about integrity and the kind of person that you are. Because most people, for you to come to me and share that commission with me or get me to do it, most people would have gone straight in. And again, some different incidents that happened recently where you invite, there's a bank, my brother approached you. They want to start a pipeline of deals from the UK. And you invited me one evening, come down for this. You didn't tell me why. And I came down, you introduced me to this guy because you're looking for new buying agents. And you were very busy that evening, you wanted me to take him out. Most people in your position would hide that kind of person from me. So what is it about successful people like you, like Jack? Why do you share? You know, because you should have probably kept that guy away from me, but you invited me to meet that guy who is looking for new buying agents, which is exactly what you do. So what makes you as an entrepreneur, as Jack, what is it in successful people like you that makes you want to share? I hope it wasn't a very long emotional question, but I had to put that in. So Yemi, just what makes you want to always share?
Oh, you know, I wasn't really sure if you were talking about our little secrets, but it's okay. You know.
Yeah, well, you know, at times with some of those secrets, at times when you get overexcited, you let go.
You know, to start with, anyone that's been to our offices in King's Cross will realize that we've been able to build from a very, we are practically in the back street. You know, it's a destination, it's a one-way system, a one-way road, you know. So we've been able to grow through networking. We've been able to grow through loyalty. We've been able to go through the fact that an introducer introduced, you know, yours is a nice story, but I'll give you a better one. Someone introduced a client to me 7 years ago, and she actually left the bank that she was working with, and the buyer only bought through us last year. When I called her to say thank you, she said, how can you, you know, I've not even spoken to you for 2 to 3 years. But you see, those individuals, look at you sharing it. When you were talking, I wasn't even sure, are you talking, that was why I said, Sam, are you referring that question to me? Look, it takes a lot for someone to trust you to bring a business to your table. And if you are a well-run business, right, you're going to pay tax anyway. So why won't I give you the money rather than giving it to the taxman? So sharing is not a sign of weakness. You know, I think it actually shows that you're confident in what you're doing. You know, I'm sure the ones that I don't do much about, people bring them to my table. And if I see someone else that that would do better at any lead, you know, I won't hesitate to pass it on. And I think that's what we should do. It's just a way to be a better person.
Yeah, I mean, great. Like, I always love your end of year parties, and you have all the estate agents, all your clients. It's, I mean, like I said, it's a trait that successful people have, where you know that there's an abundance. It's a fantastic response again. Yeah, so it's Ati, any more questions at all?
We have a lot of questions, but I just want to add to that as well while we're talking about networking and stuff. There's one thing that I've certainly learned, especially while working with Sam, is your network is your net worth. So I don't think you've got better than that. So that's very valuable information there, guys. Wow, we've got loads of questions actually.
Actually, while you're looking through to decide which ones, I didn't go through our presentation at the beginning.
Sure.
So I'll just quickly sum up our events that we have coming up while you prepare the next question. Tonight, we've got a one-man panel today in Jay Howard. Again, I mean, Jay, by early teenage year, Jay had like 3 degrees. So he is by no means, you know, he's got a degree in law, in classics. Jay can answer a question on any subject, which, as I said, Jay worked in auction house, and we did lots of events together. Having Jay on the panel, my greatest problem as a moderator was to stop Jay from answering every question. So the only solution to that is have Jay as a one-man panel. Jay will speak about multiple exit strategy. There's no one in London with more passion than Jay when it comes to property. So Archie is going to put the link in. That event is free. We're limited to a couple of hundreds of seats, and I think the seats are almost gone. If you are interested in coming, book, and you would not regret it. It will be one of the best exit strategy. Jay believes if you buy a property, you must have 2 or 3 exit strategies with it before you actually commit. Then we've got a joint venture workshop coming up, which Artie will send you the details. Vanish is one of the best JV guys in the UK. We think with what's happening now in the UK, interest rates are so low, the government is giving out lots of bounce forward, bounce sideways loans. Either way, there's money in the system, and some people just haven't got the time to invest that money. Now is the time to learn how to position yourself to those people to say, okay, you've just taken 50,000 bounce back. Why don't I use it for you? So when you bounce forward, you can leap further. So yes, Vanish will tell you how best you can do that, how you can position yourself. And then, of course, I love that story that Yemi shared about freezing up. This is someone buying multi-million-pound properties, going to an auction, and he freezes up. So how about you that only has 200,000 in your pocket? you are bound to be apprehensive. But luckily enough, Yemi at the time was not lucky to have gone through my workshop before going in. So I think if you want to avoid that experience, please book and come to the workshop. It's a Zoom event now, and we'll actually tell you a lot more about how you can actually deal with the auction. That'll be on the 6th of June, a whole day event. Then usually market analysis, I have a few things here, but I think we can skip those. The deals that we've done recently, we've done a few, but I will email it to everyone so that we can continue the Q&A. Ati,
Hi, Sam.
the auction starting at 12 or
I haven't heard a heads up. I can just check for you guys really quickly to see what time it is going on. They might be running a little bit late, but I can always double check right now. I can just go on.
Yeah, so the auction will start anytime soon. So this is a pre-auction event. For those of you that want to bid for a property, I'll let you as soon as the auction starts. So Ati, if you just go on over the questions again, please.
Yeah, sorry, the auction hasn't started yet, so we've still got a little bit of time. There is one question here about risk appetite. So I think Yasaman and Yemi can answer this question together. What is the risk appetite for mortgage lenders now as it is normalized? And how easy is it now for foreign buyers to remortgage their property with new acquisitions, and if you haven't been very successful? So that's a question on Zoom. So I think you can both, or anyone can answer that question really.
It depends really. It depends really. This is not a kind of a question that you can answer, and the answer is not going to be applicable to everybody at the same time, because again, it depends on that property. It depends on the circumstances of the owner to remortgage the property. For example, at the current time, I have an overseas client, and they remortgage their property in London, and with a very good rate. Okay, but again, this doesn't mean that every other single, overseas clients with the property in the UK can have the same kind of deals. It depends on the circumstances of individuals. Okay?
All right, so yeah, they need to be more specific. So Yemi, your thoughts on that, on foreign buyers?
I'm going to answer that from the viewpoint of an overseas. I'm assuming the person lives abroad. Okay, if that is the case, most of the banks that will deal with overseas buyers have a threshold. Really, they won't do properties under £250,000, just because it's just not what they're worth. And some of them, their criteria restricts their lending within the London M25, Then for overseas buyers, the banks that deal with them are not just basing the loan on the repayment or the rental income of the property. Typically the UK banks will do 110 to 125% of the mortgage. So if your mortgage is £1,000, they expect you to get at least a rent of 1,250 or 1,300. It doesn't work that way for private banks that deal with offshore buyers. They would have to look at the net worth of the individual, because if for any reason the property is empty or there's a major, repairs that needs to be done, you should have the wherewithal to make that money from your own personal resources. So, like we say, everything is on a case-by-case basis, but we're happy to discuss one-on-one.
All right, brilliant. There's another quick question here. I mean, it's not a quick question. It's about legal packs. We're not going to go too much into it, but this attendee has asked Yasaman in particular, explain a bit more about the legal packs. I mean, it can take up to a day to explain, but Yasaman has been you've been a guest speaker, and we've specifically targeted legal packs in some of our Saturday events as well. But what is the most important document? I don't think we can actually answer that question, right? It's such a
I can actually add to that.
Yasaman, before you go on, we do cover legal packs on our evening event, because this is a pre-auction event.
Yeah.
We try not to discuss legal packs because the people
No,
here
that's
that are planning to buy now, we don't want them to think, oh my God, maybe I didn't look at this. So
no,
I'm going to be
yeah,
very open that for the sake of our sponsor, which is Network Auction, we
yeah,
don't want to make people to think, because there are
no,
a few people here that that might freeze if we start talking about legal packs, saying, oh, you have to check this. Oh, I didn't check that. We don't want to put doubts in people's minds. If anyone is
yeah,
thinking of bidding to
yeah,
buy anything today from Network Auction, pump it. It's online, so just keep bidding until you win.
that's,
Yeah, so don't worry, you've done your duty, you're fine. But going forward, talk to us before you get to this stage.
Absolutely.
So we're not going to dwell too much on legal packs
okay.
for that reason right now. Then more about, okay, Yemi, you say you've mentioned, someone saying here that you've only mentioned London. Is that what all foreigners buy? What about the rest of the UK?
If I had been asked that question some years back, I would have said yes, that's where I'm interested in. But the reality of pricing now means that we have to look at Luton and other areas that you can access London easily, because the train ride from Luton to King's Cross is 25 minutes. If I try traveling by train from my house, it's going to take me 40 minutes. So although Luton is not in London, it's very accessible. So we do properties now in Maidstone, you know, to the south, Reading to the west, Essex, and Luton. So it's just easier because we are London property acquisition and we are really a London-based firm, you know. I wouldn't be able to offer the same service if you're buying in Leeds or Preston. So pardon me for my use of London.
Okay, I think for just to add to that, Midas, we have a wider reach in the market. In fact, we've got a property in Warsaw, 2 flats in a block. They're meant to be on auction with Network Auction, but not today, on the next auction. So we start marketing it with the lots for today's auction, saying these are future lots. Believe it or not, we had an offer yesterday from Hong Kong for 2 flats at 40,000 each in Warsaw. Warsaw is, the way I put it, Warsaw is to Birmingham like Watford is to London. But the price difference between Birmingham and Warsaw are massive. So it can only, the only way it could be up. We think Warsaw values are going to go up. Then we when you look at in terms of foreign buyers, the Chinese are buying a lot in MK. Milton Keynes is horizontal and vertical. It looks like America. So Chinese, they like that American feel. So you tend to have some other hotspots in the UK. That then Sheffield, a lot of Japanese investors bought in Sheffield. More at times it tends to be the agency. There's some agents in Sheffield that buy a lot for clients in Japan. So again, just to put in a word as a buying agent as well for the UK market, is that the UK, the way I tend to put it when I go abroad and do presentations is that I am originally from Cameroon, and they say the way you test nationality of a Cameroonian is that they answer questions with a question. So if you went to Cameroon, you went to the Ministry of Housing, and you pick every single person that works in that building and ask them what is the cost of buying a house for £50,000, everyone will ask you a different question. Who wants to know? Why do you want to know? Because there's no answer. It's different depending on who you are. The UK is the only country where if you ask a question to anyone, what is the cost of buying a £500,000 house? They'll say, if you're buying as a limited company, it's this. If you're buying as an individual, if you're buying as a second home, you get an answer, not a question back. That's a long way of saying there's transparency in the market in the UK, which you do not have in any other country in the world. There are very few countries. Even Yemi mentioned France. France is, I was going to say, it's a horrible place to buy as a private investor. It's extremely, it can take you 10 years to get a tenant out of your property. In France, it's a bad place. Don't buy in France, buy in the UK. You know, in Spain, you don't want to buy in Spain. It's a difficult place to deal with the law. Buy in the UK. It's all these places, the UK, It's the most transparent place that you could buy in the whole world. So even in New York, people in an apartment can refuse someone from buying. So you can be a rich Russian guy. I had a Russian client that went to buy in New York, and the other residents refused him because he's a Russian. And he, out of anger, he bought 2 in London. So that's a way to show your anger towards New York, is buying 2 in London. So, okay, Ati, sorry for my rant, but
that's
I had
okay,
to do that
that's
for,
fine.
I had to do that for the
I
UK.
believe the auction is now on. So
Okay.
that's what I was trying to grab your attention. I think the auction
Okay.
is now
Okay, so now
live.
with the auction now on, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get our panel to just sum up. One of the things that I tend to ask is that there must be a question that is burning that you were expecting as you're driving here, stuck in traffic. You were thinking to yourself, they're going to ask me this question that I and the audience haven't asked. Yasmin, what question have we not asked you that you think we should have asked? You know, they can answer in about 90 seconds.
I think we already covered more or less everything about the legality and importance of the due diligence of the buying the property. I think we already covered more or less everything.
Okay, so Yemi, okay, before I think you walked away. I don't know if you were following. One of the things I tend to ask all my panel members to say what question they think they were not asked, which we should have asked them, or the audience should have asked.
Well,
answer it.
You know, there are so many questions. There's so many questions. Airbnb, will it come back the way it was? Should I buy a student accommodation? Can I get equity release on my existing property? How do I go about JV? You know, there are so many questions. But I have to thank you for putting together a very strong panel. And it doesn't stop with the show. You know, you can answer, you can send your questions. And just to reaffirm what Sam said, I totally believe in London. You know, Dubai might be shiny, but if you go to some of those blocks at night, they are empty. South Africa, you can buy, but to take your money out there might be another issue. You know, London has survived many, many challenges, Great Fire, 2 world wars, recession, .com, but London is still a place and the place to invest.
Okay, so thank you for that, Yemi. And I think, again, I'll apologize afterwards, but I like to put the guest on the spot in the public and get a commitment. Why don't we do a different event that will be probably 2 hours long, just on overseas buyers in the UK, so you can do your longer presentation that you have, which we didn't have time for today. Is that something that you will consider?
If I can get 10 members of the audience to give you a thumbs up, I will,
yes.
do it.
Yeah, I think if you want Yemi to come back, we'll do one. If you just put by raise of hands, let's see how many people, and then we can do one event just on overseas. Yeah, we're up to 8 to 9. Wow, 17. Everyone's
That's
putting
very
up their
popular,
hands.
for popular demand.
Yeah. So I think we have to do an event really covering the overseas investor in the UK, and then I'll get one or more panel people that I know quite a few people that cover that space, so we can actually look at it, because there's a relationship between overseas buyers and property development in the UK, which the ordinary person does not see. Actually, before I do that, Ati, do you want to share the link to the auction event so that people who have a bit to go to, they can actually...
I just shared it about 4 minutes ago, but I'll share it again. So it's on...
Just to sum up about overseas buyer, the importance of overseas buyers to the market, because the problem we have is that the popular press presents overseas buyers like they're bad, they make prices go up. Overseas buyers, to me, the way I look at it and the way I explain to the ordinary person on the street, all due respect to them, is that if I am a developer and I go to Hertfordshire, or I get, it's taking me about 5 to 10 years to get planning for this vast land to build 300, 500 units. I've got planning permission, I need money to build. There's no way that any first-time buyer would buy from me because a first-time buyer is trying to say no. They don't know, they cannot wait for 3 years, for 2 years for you to build that property. You go to families that want to move home. A family that wants to move home cannot commit to a 3-year development project. What do you do as a developer? You have 2 options. You look at the professional buy-to-let market in the UK, which the popular press likes to jab at them and the government, or you look at the overseas market. You go to Hong Kong, you go to Nigeria, you present those people out there, they have a more open-minded approach to investment. You go to Nigeria, you launch, which is what happened to Beaufort Park in Colindale. You launch, once you have overseas buyers or professional buy-to-let that pre-order 100 of those units, then you now go back to the bank will fund you. But you need them. So overseas buyers and professional investors are what I call the catalyst. For those of you who study chemistry, they get the equation of property building in the UK going. Unfortunately, the average tabloid newspaper journalist hasn't got much between their 2 ears. So all they do is they talk about overseas buyers as a negative force and professional buy-to-let investors. If you do, please copy, take this, put it on your Instagram, and send it to every journalist in Daily Mail that writes about overseas buyers as being bad for the market, that we need them to actually catalyze property investment in the UK. Panel, would you agree with that rant of mine?
I agree with that, Sam.
Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. So it's always good to get that. So Yemi, we've got, everyone says they want you to come back. So without much further ado, again, I would just like to thank everyone for making it here today. And again, one of the things that we should have done at the beginning, which we went straight in, is discuss about the market, ask people to say, how's the work going on from home, but we'll cover that at our next event. Ati, you want to close up?
Yes, definitely. I'll be back on my video now. But like Sam said, normally we start the presentation off talking about Midas. But today, thank you very much for everyone who attended, because it was nice and early, 9:45. So we really appreciate your attendance and for being really prompt as well for this event. For those of you that need to go to Network Auction, please feel free to do so. Everybody who's attended with your email address, we will send you all the information out as well. And we really hope to look forward to seeing you this evening at 7 p.m. With Jay Howard, who's going to be talking about reverse exit strategies. It's one event not to be missed. Jay Howard with Midas Property Group at 7 o'clock this evening, streamed once again on Zoom. The link is in the details. If you haven't received it by sort of 3 o'clock, do give us a message. Myself or Sam, just give us a call and we'll be happy to resend the details out to you guys as well. And want to thank our speakers for an amazing presentation as well. It's really not easy to be working from home, doesn't matter what you're doing. So we really want to thank you guys for your time, preparing your presentations beforehand as well. And me and Yasaman did a little live a few days ago. So really appreciate everyone's time and effort that's gone into it as well. So that's it really. Just a big thank you to everybody.
Okay, thank you, Yemi. Thank you, Yemi. Thanks, Yasmin. We'll talk again. It's at this stage we're going to cool off for 15 minutes while everyone is, the panel are moving, driving out to the car park. What I would do, I normally go to the audience. If anyone wants to give a shout out while people are driving out, just put your hand off and I can make you talk. You can say what you do. Is there anyone that wants to say a quick hello?
Two people raise their hands.
Yeah. The hands are up. Okay, let me see. Okay, attendees. Okay. Oh, okay. I think there's still quite a few hands from before. I should have put all the hands down before asking that. Yeah. So okay, let me see who could, because people had to raise their hands. Okay, let me make Rachel. I don't know why, if they've raised it for now or it was up before. Rachel. I'll unmute you. I can't unmute you for some reason. Okay, I'll go to Ade. Okay, Ade, you can talk. Hello. Rachel, can you unmute yourself to talk? Okay, maybe she's not there. Probably she had her hands off from before. Okay, let me go to Ade. Ade, can you talk, please? Just unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hello, hi, Ade. Oh, is that Rachel? Yeah, Rachel, you're on.
Hi, everyone. This is Rachel. Sorry, I did put my hands up from before for the discussion about international investors, but I'm still glad to talk a little bit.
Okay.
It's been a very good session. Thank you. Thanks for the panel. It was very informative. What I do is I don't have a property at the moment, but I have so much interest to get into property, especially service accommodations. So I'm trying to build knowledge on how to get into property. Hopefully, once I'm into service accommodation, I can go into other strategies. So that is why I am interested to attend this Zoom classes at the moment.
Okay, great. Okay, great, fantastic. Well done. Okay, so yeah, we hope you network, you find more events. We'll send you details of a few more events, some interesting entry events that you can attend with other companies as well. I think, let me see, there's a way of me putting down everyone's hand and they can put their hand up because there are too many hands up. So I don't know who is from before and who really wants to talk right now. Let me lower all hands. Wow, this thing gives you so much power, isn't it? Wow. Okay, I'll put okay now. Yes, now Olu's put a hand up again now, so it means he actually wants to talk. Yes. Okay, Olu, you can unmute yourself and you can talk. Olu. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, Olu, what's you? Yeah, okay.
Excellent presentation. I'm speaking from
you.
Ibadan, Nigeria.
Oh, from Ibadan. Thank you, Olu. It's good to have you on.
It's really quite interesting. And I'm so happy that I was able to get on board, so well done.
Oh, thank you, Olu. I love Ibadan, by the way. Yeah, so yeah, share to us, what do you do in Ibadan? What do we know about you?
I'm a retired professor of obstetrics and gynecology at the University College Hospital in Ibadan.
Okay.
And the former provost of the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan.
Oh, great. Okay. So are you looking at property? What's your interest in property right now?
We're not looking at any property, but we already have one being managed for us by Daniel Ford.
Okay.
And, excellent service. We're quite happy with it.
Excellent.
And thanks to Yemi Edun, who we know very well.
Okay, that's good.
Mr. Jury and others. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Olu, for coming on. I love Ibadan. I come in. Most of the guys, I don't play golf, but each time I come, I go to the golf course. I always say I have an injury, but I'm not that good. But you got some great golfers in Ibadan Golf Club, I must say. Yeah. So I think we got hands up from Mustafa. Mr. Mustafa. Yes, Mr. Mustafa, you can unmute yourself. Habib?
It's actually Habiba, not
Habiba. Okay, yeah, I think the name was a bit truncated on my screen. Yes.
Yeah, Habiba was yes.
Okay, so you can have a go.
Yeah, thank you everyone. The place, it was actually informative. I mean, I was really quite excited to join it as I deal with clients in Nigeria. I work for FBN UK, by the way, in London, and relationship manager. Most of my clients are Nigerians, and prospective clients are also Nigerians. I'm also interested in the auction thingy. So
workshop, yeah, we'll send you the link to the workshop. Yes, it'll be good to have.
Yeah. I had a discussion on this with Yemi earlier, but I didn't get the details. But I mean, I'll be looking forward to get more details on this one.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Fantastic. So do you invest in property? I think there's someone that's background noise.
Sorry?
There's someone that's got background noise. Let me see who it is to mute them. There's someone that.
Why would you put your hand up now? Why would you?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Who? Are you done? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll look forward to having you in the.
Please.
Okay. There's Ibrahim. Let me let you talk.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you may talk.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ibrahim. I just have a quick question for Yasmin here. I think she left right now.
No, Yasmin is still there. Yeah, Yasmin is there.
Okay. I just have a quick question because I'm working on a lease option agreement for 3 houses from one vendor. But the problem is I just have one question. I asked my solicitor about it, but I'm quite not sure about it. So I'm 17 years old at the moment. I'm just about to secure 3 lease option agreement deals. And I'm not sure if I should put the deals on my name. Would it be possible if I sign them on my name, or does it have to be someone that is 18 years old or over?
Okay, I think.
I think Yasamin's left.
Oh, yes,
sorry.
Yeah, I think she's left.
Yeah, she had another webinar starting at 1 o'clock, so I think she just missed her. Apologies for that.
That's completely fine.
We'll get you connected with her then, definitely. That's
right.
You're 17, right? Okay,
right.
That's great. I think I need to persist my son to say he's 17, but he,
really?
So I need
that's good.
To get more involved. I get him on the auction. He's been to a lot of auctions with me.
I've been to some of your auctions as well. I've always been in the front door. I even talk to you sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you still remember me, but I've been there so many times.
Okay.
Especially in London.
I always say auction day is like my wedding day. So I see the
right.
guests, I see the guests that come, but yeah. But for you as a young man, please talk to us. I will definitely look at how we'll get you onto the auction workshop. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sam.
It would be fantastic. I had 2 17-year-olds 2 or 3 weeks ago, actually. It's good to see that the younger people are stepping up.
Right, because this generation, people just have to change a bit. Otherwise, things will get much worse for society if this generation doesn't grow up early. Things are changing and many things are moving fast. So even people and young people have to change very quickly. Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to do always for everybody that I see, especially at my age here. Always try to help them get them outside of the box.
Where are you based?
I'm based in London, West London.
You're based in London as well, West London.
Yes,
not far. So we need to catch up after all the lockdown to try and see how things are. Okay, so we going to we got Umar. Yeah, can you talk?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Umar. Yes, yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Good afternoon now. Yeah. Good afternoon. Really good content throughout. Thanks for putting this together. So I'm Uwa. I run a deal stacking application on valapp.io. So it's an application to help investors decide on how much they should be offering on deals. So it factors in all the usual things you need to deduct from your GDV in order to arrive at a freehold value for the opportunity. So it's really there to help people with their investments. I also develop and I invest in buy-to-let property. So that's me. That's a service I offer. It's valapp.io.
Okay. Do you want to? You can put a link into the comments field. That's fantastic. The amount of time that I meet people that are buying on the back of an envelope, because there's so much that can change when you go to a site, or when you find out some councils might have specific charges that you haven't taken care of. You might, without visiting the site, you might have some restrictions in services that you didn't know of. Like I have a story where I bought a property in Western Supermare to do a basement on it, because the basement was nearly there. We just needed a few, just digging down a few like maybe about 30 centimeters to make it habitable. So we thought, we're gonna do that. When we started doing the work, the planning, we discovered that there's a massive sewage tank pipeline under that property. So there was a requirement that to do any work, we needed to build a very strong concrete slab. Just the cost of doing that actually, it meant that the project was not viable. So we had to go to our plan B to make a HMO as opposed to convert it to flats. Again, this is why Jay's talk tonight is so important. It's just so important. I'm almost being Donald Trump here. That is so important. I can't even tell you how good Jay's talk is today. But anyone that wants to look at any exit strategy, anyone that just wants to learn about property, anyone that wants to hear a good person talk about property. In fact, if nothing else, just come and Jay will tell you about his experience in property investment. It's funny enough. And then you can go home after that, you can talk out. We definitely enjoy Jay's talk tonight. So, I hope to see you in the evening. Yeah, you will enjoy Jay's talk this evening.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Is it Ibrahim?
Yes.
Okay, I'll unmute Ibrahim. Are you okay? You're unmuted now. Yes. You want to have a go? Quick go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Yes.
Yes. Just like continue our previous talk, he said about Yasmin, she's having another event at the moment, but just like I know you have some experience on this. What would you recommend if I have to put sign the properties on my name, even though I'm still not an adult signed because I'm under 18? What is your point of view on this?
Okay, in terms of putting properties, but I think right now on, I mean, like I said, it's not legal advice or financial advice, but generally, it's no longer very advisable to put properties in your personal name because of the recent changes in tax. Just to cut it quite brief, if you have a property, you're paying a mortgage of £600 and your rents are 1,000. Before, you have just a bit between your mortgage and your rents to worry about as profit to pay tax on. But the way tax has changed lately, it means if you have a property that you're paying a mortgage of 600 and your rents are 1,000, you are now required to pay rents tax on the whole 1,000. So this again is it's just a very soundbite explanation. So if you really need to understand very well and how this applies to you personally, I strongly advise you speak to a tax advisor. And if you do need any recommendations, just email us. RT will introduce you to a tax firm that we work with. When you say you're from Midas, they will give you a 1 hour free tax. I mean, these are top tax guys. Will give you an hour free consultation.
Right. Yeah, sure. I will do that. I will be in contact with you guys about my situation.
Avinda, I'll get you to Avinda. You can unmute yourself and then talk.
Hi guys. Yeah, great presentation. Really good. Always good to learn. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I mainly do auctions, but mainly buy from auction. I stick to the maybe sort of single lets in and around London, and yeah, just always looking at deals really. I've just exchanged on one this week, post COVID. So just interesting to see how it all sort of pans out with the financing and obviously all the legal work and stuff. But yeah, all good so far.
Yeah, you know, one of the most popular quote, I've been running events for about 7 years now, and everyone puts in PowerPoint Warren Buffett: when others are scared, be brave. When others are brave, take a break. All those people right now, and everyone is scared, and I can see those guys hiding under the bed from the COVID. It's good to talk to someone that's actually practicing that quote. Well done to you. It's great to know that you're buying, you're being brave, you're doing what you say on the tin. Now, if you don't mind sharing with us, so you are going ahead with your deal. What kind of property is it that you're buying?
So it's just your normal sort of vanilla let. So I tend to stick to single lets. I don't really venture into the HMO for them. I think if it works as a single let, why try and create something or force the yield where I think it's important to get the right type of deal that is yielding well as a single let. So with this one, yeah, I tend to do a lot of stuff post auction. So I I tend to negotiate with the auctioneers. I try and get things done on my terms. You know, I just find that the ball's more in my court, especially post-auction when something's unsold. So that's the sort of things I kind of look at. So yeah, just been sort of doing that for the last 5 years, 5-6 years now. So yeah, auction's the main strategy.
I mean, great. To quote Jay, who's speaking tonight, sound like I keep talking about it, but he's very quotable. He has something to say, your price, my terms. And that's the beauty of dealing after auction, which we do fantastically well for our clients, is that we can not only negotiate the price, because most people think price is everything. Price is not. Price is only something, but the deal is everything. At times, it's not so much about buying it £2,000 cheaper. You can buy it for £4,000 more, but you can have terms that you'll make a lot more from paying a bit more. So terms are everything, not a price. So that is what I preach to our clients, because when we get clients that will do acquisition for, every time they say below market value, I say, why would someone want to sell that property to you below market value? Why? So go for the deal. Don't get too stuck on price. Again, I know. Okay, I think we still got a few more hands up. Okay, got you, Ibrahim is spoken. Okay, so I think if all the hands are going down, let me just lower all the hands for people to put their hands up again if they want to talk. If anyone has, yeah. So again, haven't got the popular opinion, got Yemi to agree to come back. We will speak with Yemi, agree a day for him and a few more panel to just look at the overseas market, investing in the UK. What are the points? Like I say, I've got a strong opinion on that, so probably get Ati to moderate on that day so I can be on the panel. But yes, well, I can do both. But we will be letting you know when our next event will be, where we actually look at the international market. I've got a few good people in mind that I would put down to the panel. It will be a very interesting one. Okay, I've got more hands. Okay, Elvis, I think we did not get to Elvis. Okay, Elvis, and then Charles Kelly after Elvis. Yeah, okay, Elvis?
Yes, hi,
got the floor. Hello, hi, that's good.
Yeah, thank you for the presentations. It's been quite enlightening. And it's good to know that you're from Cameroon, because I'm also from Cameroon.
Oh, you're from Cameroon. Okay, so I should have asked you a question. Say if you give me an answer or you answer for a question. But yes, you're giving it away.
That's the test, right? So I probably won't do that. Yeah, we are in the position where we're trying to get into this property investment or property development, what have you. We just got interested. Well, we got interested toward the end of last year, but unfortunately, at the start of this year, we have this whole change on the market, and it sort of caused a bit of setback from us. So basically, I'm kind of looking at what to do here. First of all, we are in the verge of registering the company that will be dealing with that. And the first thing was, what kind of structure will be suited? I don't know if you're the right person to help us with this, or if you can, any member of the panel could help us in that direction.
Yes.
And we wanted basically probably buy property, develop or buy and develop or anything that.
Get my mic. I'll be back 5 minutes. Just going to get next door.
Yeah. Okay. Now I think in terms of structure on buying, doing property development. So I think what will happen is I would talk to you offline and I'll put you through to the best people that can help you structure your business, because when you go to property development, it depends what you're developing for. Are you a build-to-rent developer? Build-to-rent simply means you build, you rent it, you refinance it, and then you move to the next project. If you are build-to-rent, you structure yourself differently. Are you building to sell? Are you building to sell all the units and then keep a few? You structure yourself differently. Are you building with a JV finance, or there's a whole lot of things. Do you want to finance and pay your JV partner out? There's a whole lot of things that go into property development. Here, I mean, everyone knows me in terms of properties in the UK, but I have a strong interest in properties in Singapore. I follow up a lot. I go to Cape Verde. I do Nigeria. The development in Nigeria, just right at Eco Atlantic. one of my claims to fame, I went in there at the beginning of the project. They took me down the tunnels, how they're doing all the guttering. I have pictures to prove it. I've been to new projects that have been done in Cape Verde. I have a strong interest in real estate abroad as well, not just in the UK. So that for me is like a hobby. Again, of Olu from Ibadan, I was in Ibadan about 4 years ago. One of my clients, Megamount, he was launching a development in Ibadan. So I was actually there at the ceremony of it. So I have a broad interest in real estate across the world, and especially the African continent as well, which is something. Yeah. So Alvis, let's speak later.
I was okay, but I don't have your direct. I think I do have your direct mobile.
My number, yes, I think it'll be on the scenes. The links are active in putting in. When you go, you get a number that you can get in touch with me. Certainly, I'll look out for your name. We can talk. Alvis, where are you best?
In Manchester.
In Manchester, okay, yeah. I'll come up. I do invest in Manchester, so I'll come up quite often actually. So it'll be good to catch up when I can come up to Manchester again. Okay, thank you, Elvis. I think Charles Kelly. Let me unmute Charles. Charles.
Hi Sam, how you doing?
Your hand up. Yes, very well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for coming on board.
Oh, that's great, and it's a good session you've run today. Very interested in what's going on internationally. I think that young guy I was very impressed with the young guy buying options, and I think he was trying to ask about whether he can buy in his own name at age 17, or maybe he has to use an SPV. But I was very impressed with him, and I'm also looking at the market. There's seems to be properties selling on the auction on the auction list today. Many of them have been sold prior to the auction, but I just wondered what your view is on the overall economy when you look at the amount of people who are losing their jobs and 1 in 5 firms expecting to lay people off. Every day we hear about another firm laying people off. What your overall view of where the market's going in terms of sale prices? I know there's still the rental demand definitely has picked up. I had some empty rooms, and they've picked up now. There's more people looking. But I'm not sure where sale prices are going to go in the next year. I'm just wondering what your view is, or some of the panel's view is.
Yeah, okay. I think I will probably give my view, and then I'll get anyone now. There isn't any much of a panel anymore. They're gone. But okay. anyone that has a view, can put their hands up. I can get them to air their view. Is there anyone that has a view?
Well, I value your opinion, yeah. Sam.
I was going to say
of the market.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I do value your opinion.
Yeah, I was going to come to that, but usually in the house, at times you have some fantastic experts, especially I can look at the list. I can identify some of the strong experts on here, but they're probably not saying anything. I can see Aaron Yaya is here, a man who got strong opinions, and but I think maybe they're probably busy and they're not in a place they can talk. Yeah, I think what's happening with the current situation, which is global, but countries have different approaches to what's going on. And in my opinion, I think the UK has one of the strongest approach to the problem. There's so much money that the government is pumping in to try and stamp off the effect of COVID. So yeah. Hopefully, got schemes where people are being paid 80% of their salaries to try and make sure that they stay in their jobs. Last week, we just had the bounce back loan, which, like an industry like rent to rent, which has a very high turnover but very small profit. Because in London, if you look at a HMO, there are very few HMOs that don't turn over like 46,000, 50,000 in London. So you only need 2 of those HMOs to turn over 200,000. So a few rent-to-rent operators have maybe 3-4 limited companies, depending on who they have a JV agreement with. For all sorts of reasons, they run multiple companies. So suddenly they're able to take a loan of 50,000.
Yes.
So there's some rent-to-rent guys that last week they've got £200,000 drop into their bank account. So that injection of money into the economy will stabilize things. It just, of course, we have a limited time on each webinar, but if you know how many clients I have on my books now that are looking to buy up north, we think that foreigners are buying in London. Wait until my guys in Barnsley call you and say, Sam is bringing foreigners to buy everything that we have up north. There's so many people now in London that have the cash. Now they want to buy up north. As we've been here, as I've been moderating, I just had an offer accepted for a property in up north for one client that wants to buy cash, and she can move quite quickly. It's meant to be at auction, the next auction, but it's gonna go. It's probably under 100,000. It's a HMO up north. Right now, most operators in London, they have this liquidity. So I think all those things will compound to keep the economy ticking on. It's a tough one, notwithstanding it's all over the world, but I think the UK, our government has one of the best approaches to the problem. So I think we will definitely get through this, the prices. And when you talk about the price of properties in the UK, there are many markets. And unfortunately, most people just talk about the price of property. There's so many segments. Look at by owner-occupier market. That, without doubt, is a market that might stagnate for a bit longer, because if you want to move home not too far from where you live, or maybe say taking kids into consideration, if you're not moving from the school catchment area for no strong reason, there's a high chance that you probably want to hold back. For maybe you're scared of COVID, or someone that wants to sell that doesn't really have to sell, they live in the property, they'll be scared of people coming to that property. So that would take a while. So I think that owner-occupier market, we can all agree that there will be a bit of stagnation in that sector. Agree? Yes. I think there will be a bit of stagnation. Then now we move to the cash flowing industry, which is like probably the HMO. HMOs, there's a slight problem in HMOs right now because of the pandemic starting, the lockdown. Most people wanted to be with their families or friends. People didn't want to be alone, because even though in a HMO you live with other people, it's a community, but when things like this happen, people want to be with other people. So I know quite a lot of HMO people, young people that work, that decided to move back to Midlands to be with their families, or they move back even within London. People that left home, they're living not far from home. They say, you're 21, 23, you're renting your room, you don't want to be with mom and daddy, but everything is locked down. Why do you want to sit in your room by yourself? So you might as well move home, and you might go back to mommy and daddy. So that has been the pattern, but that would end now that we're gradually getting through lockdown. We expect people now to start moving back. Very soon, mommy, you're home with mommy and daddy, but there's no way to go anywhere. But very soon, it will be, you want to start going out, mommy and daddy say, well, what time are you coming home? It's like, okay, I'm going to go back to my HMO room now. So yes, the HMO market will come back big shortly. Service accommodation, I think the market for service accommodation, I mean, yes, it had to die down because of no travel, the travel restriction. A few people pivoted, but there can only be so many healthcare workers that will take service accommodation. So the pivot was really quite niche. But with the relaxing of rules, people might not fly out a lot. So I think there'll be you might have to change your booking channel. Most people that maybe the booking channels were pointing abroad, you might have to repoint to the UK, because I think the travel now in the UK will be a lot more into UK travel. So maybe we need to book, maybe go to Manchester on holidays and just try and see other cities in the UK. But that's the thing. You have people in the UK that maybe travel to Spain, to different islands, but they don't know what happens in Leeds. So I think we might see a pattern for the next year or two where there's a lot of inter-UK travel. So while the clientele group will change in the service accommodation, I think there will still be a demand, but it will be different clients. It will be more UK, inter-UK. Then you come to property development. That is a market that I think it's a long, most HMO developments, it's about maybe two months to get it to a market, but most, really, especially if you have to dig into the ground, you're looking at 18 months plus. It's a very long-term business, and the government has been particularly supportive to that industry, and the way the COVID affects property developments is very specific to developers, depending on what stage you are. If you're just at the stage of actually going to start digging now, then you know you still got 18 months to worry about it. It's a much longer term issue. But if you are about to complete now, or you were like just doing snaggings and you just completed now, while people are not really buying as much, then you probably have a different problem, where you either have to maybe rechange your strategy, maybe rent it out. But I think in the development cycle, people that are completing their projects now, they might have a bit more problem than people that are starting or people that are midway. So anyone that's finished, that just completed about 2 months ago, or was about to complete 2 months, so we have maybe about 6 months window, which they will have more unique problems. I think, what other market do we have? Well, I think I've covered quite a lot of the markets. Is there anything else at all?
Well, I just want to say the mortgage lending is obviously important to oil the wheels of any market, and lenders have, they are there, but they're a bit tighter. Rates are surprisingly high, even though mortgage, base rates have come down to almost zero. Mortgage rates in some cases have gone up. I'm paying more on just a new fixed rate deal. It's costing me now £200 a month more on a HMO fixed rate deal that I had to renew in May than I was paying before. And I had no other choice because there wasn't many lenders around. And I've had to pay that sum plus £1,000 fee. So the lenders now, they're not just giving you a mortgage for 25 years. They give you a fixed rate for a couple of years. Then you go back again. They say, right, here, give us £1,000 and we'll give you another fixed rate. If not, we're going to double your payment. So the mortgages have become a bit difficult. Limited company mortgages are still, I'm surprised the lenders are not coming out, the mainstream lenders are not lending on limited company mortgages to buy-to-let buyers. It just stuns me that, you go to the Halifax and Santander, no, they're only doing individuals, because limited company mortgages, the cheapest I could get was 3%, which, is not a great rate. But so I hope the mortgage lenders will not go so nervous and will be there to help people, get on the ladder and move things forward. Yeah. That was all I wanted to say, really.
Okay, that's great. And I think one of the things that most people, I find they get wrong is that when people talk of that our interest rates have gone down, or my mortgage rate has to go down, I'm not a finance expert, but I don't believe that there's a particular the auctioneer, the lenders are not forced to actually reduce their interest rates in line with the government rates or whatever rates they have. So really, as a matter of fact, the interest rate that's being given is a guide. Each mortgage lender will price their risks. So, which is why you get, some people might have a better mortgage deals because the lender perceives that risk to be a lot lower. So yeah, so I think you have vendors that will still be lenders that will still be doing things very differently compared to others, just depending on how they perceive the risks. Which is why when you already have a portfolio and you go to lend, most lenders would look at how your portfolio is performing. If you have lots of equity in your portfolio, you have a lot more options that you can go with because they know you have other properties that they can maybe come on to if they need to ever have any problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so I think any other point that we missed out?
No, that's great, Sam. Great summary. So as the economy is going south, the money is moving north.
Absolutely, yes. And so the money from London. It's definitely moving north.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm having so much demand for northern properties now than I've ever in the past. I'm trying to share something as I'm talking to share the auction as it's going on, so we can watch it while we chat. Okay. So yeah, but by the way, do you want to tell us about your book? You've written a fantastic book. I love the title of it.
Oh, great. Yeah, it's called Yes, Money Can Buy You Happiness. I wrote it because I was a financial advisor for 25 years, working for banks, insurance companies, and myself. And, excuse me, I've seen thousands and thousands of people and realized that not many people know how to manage their money. And you see in this crisis now that most people haven't even got enough money to pay their bills for this month as soon as their income stops. So that's why I wrote the book. I also have a Money Tips podcast. And if you send me a link to your event tonight, I can mention it on my broadcast this afternoon. Yeah. And I'll mention people to tune in to you tonight for your broadcast. I'll be doing a podcast this afternoon.
Okay.
On Facebook as well. And yeah, so I'll mention that for you to give it a bit of promotion.
Okay, that's good. And then yeah, so yeah, that's good. I think that the link should be in the comments field. And
okay.
Yeah, and we should do next live. We promise we're going to do one again soon.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me see. Okay, I'm now on the auction. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yeah. All the lots there. Lot 2,
okay.
Lot 3.
Let me see what's happening with lot number 2. Okay. So just to explain to, let me see. Is this one? This one, is it gone? Yes, sold. Yes, I'm excited. This is one of my lots.
Oh, really?
Again, for people that don't know what we do at Midas, we do a lot of assisted sales. We sell on behalf of our clients, so it's always good to know. I think that there's a page I didn't present about deals that we've done during the lockdown. We've sold a flat for $500,000 in West London. We sold quite a fair bit, so deals are happening. So this is one of ours that we put in. I'm quite happy, excited to see that it's sold. We are doing deals. If anyone has any property for sale, we can actually help you put it at auction. When I speak to people, they say, oh yeah, why should I do it through you? Well, I can walk up to the auction. It doesn't cost you anything more going through me or through Midas than you going to the auction company directly. But what it offers you is someone that mediates on your behalf. I can look at the best auction for your property that you want to sell, pick the right auction, and I can make sure that we get the right kind of pricing and the best kind of marketing strategy. I can tell you 98% certainty that this property, I listed it as Midas, and it's been sold. There's an 80% chance that it's from our marketing. The key reason why we take properties to auction is that when we try and deal with people, private treaty, at times they're not committing. So we want a platform that offers committed buyers and committed sellers. So most of the time we list off at auction and we know we put it to our community and they buy it. So again, as we're talking, this is very relevant. This is in Bradford. It's a no-brainer. It's a very big property. If you look at the footprint, you drop this in Wembley, you'll be looking at maybe 450 in Wembley for this property. But up north, these are the kind of deals that a lot of investors in London are buying now up north, because this is a fantastic, maybe on a single let, you get double-digit yield. It's a 4-bedroom property for 56,000 in a great location in Bradford. You would get a good yield on it.
Wow, looks good.
Yeah, you get a good yield.
Did you get a good price for it? Did you expect that price?
The client is very happy with the price that they've got. Again, this is one of my other ones again, Granville, that's sold again. Most of you that follow my Facebook Live, I did a live from it. We are open. We do open houses. The government says no open houses, but you can do viewings. So when we do open houses, you can't just walk to it. You have to call, book an appointment so that we have people go in every 10 minutes. So this again, so Midas has done fantastically well today. So it's always good to have some good news, share some good news with you guys. So let's look at it. Let's look at where they are right now so that we can actually follow one of the auctions live.
I used to have a flat in Granville Road in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
In
okay.
Ilford, yeah, in Ilford, and I think we sold it for about, I don't know, 30,000 or something. It was
wow
in the 80s, but
I might guess.
yeah.
I might know who bought it, because the guy who bought this, I'm suspecting is him. He owns a hotel next door on the Parallel Street. He owns a block opposite. He owns. I love when I do an open house and you get some buyer that comes and he says, "This is where, when you come to our workshop, we'll teach you how to do viewings, how you get the person that's on site to give you attention." This guy just came to me. He's a very seasoned. Just said to me, "Sir, it's time for open house. I'm not here to mess around. I own that hotel. I own that building." But he wasn't bluffing, because the tenants next door, they greeted him when he came for open house. So they must know him around. How much can I buy this for? And my response was that, "Sir, I'm only here with a key to open the house. I don't want to discuss the price with him. I don't know anything about this property. You need to speak to the office." So yes, so there's some interesting discussions that take place at property auction viewings. I always advise, even if you're not planning on buying, look out for properties that are going locally. Attend an auction viewing. It's a very good experience to do. Okay, I had an interest in this one, lot number 9. It's not mine. A client of mine had an interest, but our offer was not accepted. Let me see if it's sold or not. So that if it didn't sell, sold. Okay.
Post auction.
Oh, okay. So it didn't sell when it was live, but just
after.
Someone bought it. Yes. So
stuff is moving. Stuff is moving.
Yeah. So stuff is moving. So everything that I've looked at is sold. The lot that we have to come to the next auction, we're already selling them, because, like I said, from Hong Kong yesterday, someone bought 2 of the flats straight away on the phone. I've got someone that made an offer for one, and while we've been on air, the landlord has emailed me to WhatsApp me where he wants to transact, and I think I can get the 2 to agree. So we are selling 3 properties straight away between yesterday and today, which are meant for the auction in a couple of weeks. So guys, people are doing business.
Good.
Yeah, there's business being done. Okay, Charles, thank you. So I'll definitely
Sam.
I'll call you after this. We can chat and set up some evenings for some live chats.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm just going to look at anyone else that wants to have a quick shout. Okay. Let me see if we still have anyone here that wants to have it. Say, Timmy. I think Timmy should say something. Hi, Timmy. Okay, maybe I think Timmy is probably not able to talk.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. I thought maybe you're somewhere. So what were your views on the foreign investors buying the UK?
To be honest, that presentation was mind blowing. I've been listening to the whole webinar since morning, and it's like so much information to take on board. And thank you so much, to be honest, because what you're doing to us, especially us that are just trying to build up our own portfolio, going to business, you're actually passing of knowledge information to us. Thank you so much for that. So I think what I find with the Yemi presentation was that, because he's a big boy in the game. In fact, I happen to know one of his clients, so I was going to take the property on a rent-to-rent basis. So the lady bought. She's one of the famous ladies in Nigeria anyway. So she bought a property, but Yemi helped.
Yeah, we don't call clients names on air, so it's always good for confidentiality.
Yes. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I was going to take the property on rent-to-rent basis, but it didn't. It didn't
Okay.
It didn't go through. But yeah, so I would like to know more about how you help clients, especially from Nigeria, to buy property from here.
Do you know Yemi personally? You spoken to him?
No, I don't know him personally, but I know some of his clients that he's there anyway.
No, he's a great guy. If you want to talk, he's very accessible. What people think, when you have that much success, it's difficult to get through to you, but he's quite open to talk, and which is something that we didn't cover. He employs 3 generations. He has someone that's there, their wife, their kid, and their grand. It's great to go into a business and you see someone a business that has a soul and a heart. That's David's business. I was just looking through and I saw a name here, David, and I called it Yemi's business.
Can I quickly ask you a question? There's a property that's supposed to be on auction today. You know, the Wolverhampton property, the five bedder. So I was trying to check it last night to look at the figure, but it's like the property has been withdrawn.
Is it, sorry, which one? Is it
Wolverhampton, WV? It was going for I believe 150,000.
No, that's for next auction actually. Is that Rabbit Street, right?
That's correct, Rabbit Street.
No, Rabbit Street is being offered at the next auction, but it's just on now as for marketing purposes, right? So you can buy it before that day. If you make the I can negotiate on your behalf for you to buy it. Rabbit Street's an excellent HMO, which network auction has it for that next auction. So if you have any interest in that property, talk to me. Talk to me after this. Yeah.
All right then. All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Get them to knock it down for you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So yeah, like I said, again, one of the ways that auction companies work, just so you know, when they close their catalog and then they have stock for the next auction, they throw it out with the current auction lot saying this is coming up, and especially in the current market. See, the way the market is right now, no one really knows what is going on, or what's going to happen. We can predict, we can project, but no one really knows. So what network auction did is that they had closed their catalog, and we had quite a few properties that came up to the market. So we got them all ready. I put pressure on the vendors to get all the legals ready. So they send it out, marketing it to the audience now, but it's actually meant for next auction. But if you give the right auction offer now, they will take it. And the way I present it to the vendors, so they take it, there's an expression that don't catch a falling knife, yeah? When you're on a, I think that's the earlier advisor your parents give you when you start learning how to eat on a table as a child. Like if your knife falls off, let it drop on the ground before you pick it up, because you might get yourself hurt. That is, unfortunately, that's the advisor most people are taking into property, saying they're going to wait for the knife to fall and then they pick it up. But hey, maybe our parents were eating with sharp knives. Some knives are not sharp, and if they fall, how far down do you know they're going to fall? So the point I'm making is that we are in a situation where people don't know if the knife is falling, how deep the knife might fall, or if it's not going to fall at all, it's going to fall on the table, but you can wait to see it. But what we're saying to people is, especially for vendors, if you have an offer now, sell it, because you don't know what will happen in 7 weeks when the auction comes. So on that argument, I use the same argument to people that see a property now. You buy it now, you don't have to necessarily wait until the knife falls to the ground, because you don't know how far the ground is, or you don't know if it's going to fall and bounce back. If the knife does bounce. Okay, so yeah, so Timmy, we'll chat afterwards if if that property is still on. Okay.
That's fine. Thank you for that.
Okay, anyone else got their hands up? Again, like I said, Timmy.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Timmy. Just, I know most people are gone, and only a few people. You've been to the property auction workshop. This is a real story where I've met Timmy at quite a few networking events, but I went to an auction, the last one of Bernard Marcus's auction that was in the room. So I met with Timmy, and Timmy had just met some other chap at the auction, and they greeted me. It transpired that guy had come to buy a property at auction, but he done no DD, and he said, "Oh, I'm buying this property." I said, "How much are you going to buy for?" He told me the number, and I said, "Oh, if you look at the legal pack, no," but he had a legal pack on him from the registration desk. I said, "If you look at that document," he said, "No." I said, "What is on the special condition?" He said, "What is special condition?" He took it out. I said, I took the papers off him. I looked at it, straight onto special condition. They said the buyer of this property will pay the vendor's legal fee. There's a fee of 2%. And I said to the guy, you say you want to buy this property at this number. Are you ready to pay this extra? I said, no, I didn't know that. But to cut a long story short, he didn't transact because of that conversation. But again, this just underpins the importance of being knowledgeable about what you're going to do, talking to people, attending a one-day workshop before you actually go and bid from an auction. So, so Timmy, you didn't know that guy, but you saved him a whole lot that day. I've texted him, though. I've not heard from that chap again since that day. So I hope he didn't just get scared of the property industry.
No, I think because he may have got stuck in Portugal because he was going to go to Portugal that week before the lockdown.
Yes, it was just before lockdown. So I think he went out and probably got locked down abroad.
Yeah. Because I tried to give him a call, but the number wasn't going through. So hopefully I'll keep track of him anyway. So you know.
Good. Okay, let me see, where is the auction right now? Okay, so I think I'm just gonna see if anyone still wants to have a quick shout out. If not, we will let everyone. Sold on 24,000. I think the network auction is doing fantastically well. Okay, yeah, Elvis is raising hands up. Let me get Elvis. Elvis.
Yeah, it's just a quick one. So you mentioned the properties that you have for sale that you advertise. So what's the feed? Where do we get it from?
Yeah, see, I think what I'll do, there's quite a few that we have up north that I can send you a link to those. Where do you want to invest?
Well, to be honest, there's no restriction, north and even south, if possible. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping that with our discussion, it will give us more insight on what's the best thing to do, given that we are new in the field. We're trying to treat it a bit carefully with the current climate, but nevertheless, we are trusting that with people like yourself being on the ground, maybe your insight will be helpful in terms of determining key areas.
Yeah, I was up Manchester area recently to value properties on just after press week. The next town after press week. What is it? A small town, or the name is just gone on my mind now. Just
maybe Chorley.
No, I think after Chorley. Just wow, fantastic. Some great investment opportunities out there. And I think I've seen a message from the guys that I came to see. They sent me a message yesterday. I've not had time to look at it right now. I'm going to look at it, see that tomorrow on the weekend, see if, because one of our biggest problems, taking properties to auctions, when you give a valuation, most people maybe they're reluctant. So I'm hoping that it's a positive email, they accept my recommendation. We should be having some very good properties in just north of Manchester. Because Manchester itself is getting quite saturated in terms of, well, not mature in terms of an investment destination. It's quite difficult now to get double digits within Manchester. You now have to go to the neighboring cities of Manchester.
That's right.
Like I said, we have access to deals in Bradford, we've got a pub in Barnsley. So it's a pub for about 120,000, but it's got planning to actually build four flats for about 80,000. So for 200,000, you can get yourself a block of flats up north. So we have quite a fair amount of deals if that's the budget level that you can look at. Okay, so anyone else? If not, we can let everyone maybe get on with that day. If there's no one that wants to do any shout out. Okay, so I think without much further ado, I'll just let everyone get on with that day. We've gone on 30 minutes longer than I thought we would. So it's a sign that everyone is enjoying it, which is good. Okay, guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the evening. If you're free to join Jay's event this evening, I think you wouldn't regret it. Thank you once more for being there. Because if you're not there, we wouldn't be here. We're here because you're there. And
are we going to get all the details from the chat sent to us?
Oh, for the evening tonight, yeah? For the event tonight.
There were some details shared on the chat. So do we?
Yes.
Are we going to get that email to us?
Yeah, okay, I'll get I'll to email everyone that's logged on here the link to the evening event, which again, like I said, anyone that's looking at doing property investment should definitely log in this evening and listen to Jay talk. He's a great friend, very knowledgeable guy, and I can't overlay that point again. Okay, thank you, and I'm going to switch this off. Let me, okay, so while you guys are going, I'll just stay on. I just want to look at quite a few questions that came up on Facebook, but I was struggling to.
Sorry, Mr. Pham. I was going to ask you, this guy that's hosting doing the event this evening, is that the same guy that wrote Before the Hammers Fall?
Yes, he's the one that wrote the auction book. Yes, him and Pure, they wrote the Before the Auction, Before the Hammer Falls. So yeah, so I think hopefully, I'm sure Pierre will always be somewhere in the background in the evening. So I'm just trying to look.
I've got the book. I'm trying to go through the book, read the book. So the book.
Oh yeah, bring your book with you this evening for him to sign it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bring it with you when you're coming to the event. I'm joking, but yeah, but just get him. We could get him to sign your book digitally, Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I'll definitely talk to him to sign your book. Yeah, you can show it to him and he will sign it, as I say.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much for today anyway. So we'll leave it to get on with the day, yeah?
All right, okay, great. Okay, thank you. I'm just looking at, yeah, so guys, thank you. You can all, if you want, you can gradually go away and enjoy the day. I'm just looking at the questions from on Facebook, so I can answer them.
Okay, Sam, I'll see you later.
All right. Oh, Ranjit. Okay, good. Didn't know you're still there, but I'm going to say a few things again. Okay. Okay, so I'm just trying to look at a few of the questions here on one of the chart. Yeah, which is the best city you recommend that you buy in? I mean, in terms of investing in the UK, generally, it's quite difficult to recommend a particular city because it depends on how you plan to run the property that you buy. Do you plan to actually run it yourself or give it to an estate agent? Why are you buying it long term, or do you plan to sell it quite soon? So where you buy, your strategy might depend on your intentions. Okay, so I'm just looking at on Facebook. Yeah. As soon as I close it, it will shut down Facebook. So I have to deal with the Facebook questions before I get out. Yeah. Yeah, auctions. Yeah, do you think auctions will ever come back into the room or they'll stay online? Oh, wow. Auctions. Yes, I think auctions will come back in the room quite soon. How soon? It's anyone's guess. It could be maybe a year. But one thing for sure is that we have conversation with every single auction company. Most auction companies right now, in terms of planning, they're planning a virtual auction for the next to maybe 12 months. If it goes back to the room, then it's great. In terms of planning, auction companies are actually planning a year ahead that they're going to be online, but they can't wait to go back into the room because that's where traditionally you get more, you can get people. Traditionally, you want to have people eyeball each other when they're bidding, but I think people are getting used to this. Yes, they will got this again. The question, Sam. Yes, watching your Facebook Live. How come you're having open houses when they're banned? Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yes. Now, like I said, in the government's guideline, it's quite clear that no open houses. That is said in there. But however, the government says you can do viewings. So, what is the difference between a property viewing and an open house? Yeah, okay, it's very open to interpretation. In my opinion, the difference between a property viewing and an open house is a viewing, you book to view. An open house means you can come straight off the street. Yes. So from that point of view, even though we call it an open house, we put in buttons for people to actually click to say they're coming. So when we know there are 10 people coming, we'll make it 10, we'll give everyone 10 minutes. Usually our open house used to be 15 to 30 minutes. We want people to come in. At the same time, we would like it packed, quick, and then people leave. No, stretch it out. Then we go. But now on, when we do open houses, we're allocating 90 minutes. 90 minutes, enough time for Arsenal to lose a game. Coming from an Arsenal supporter, that's very rich. Yeah, so we're allocating 90 minutes. Why 90 minutes? Because that gives us time to allocate 10. So that we're working on that, we might get 10 people minimum. So we can give people 10 minutes each to go into the property and then come back for social distancing. But usually, a lot of people go in within 5 minutes, they've made up their mind and then they leave. And then some people view a property, they go out and they come back, they would want to see it again. So we have to manage a queuing system quite, well. Okay, so I'm just looking at more questions that are here on other channels that we are live at. Yeah. Okay, so again, there are a few questions here about, you say, why take a property to auction through you? Why buy through auction through you? Again, like I said, you can actually buy or sell the property from auction without anyone else, but it's always more useful if you have a third-party person. So there are quite a lot of questions here. I think I'm going to actually go because I'm getting messages here for the my colleague. They want me to end the event so they can download the video and do some work on it. So I think I'm being pushed, and I think I need to jump. So what I'm going to do, I'll stop my sharing. Anyone that's left. So I'm going to end the webinar because my colleague is waiting. He says sitting, waiting to do the work on the video. That's his job, and I cannot get in the way. He was expecting the video should be ready by now, but so let me not get in the way of him doing his own job. So I'm gonna end the webinar right now. Okay, thank you once more. Goodbye. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.